The girl grills the boy, demanding to know why he bought them, and her friend cuts in, saying she just wants someone who will straight up say what he wants from them. Nervous as hell, he realizes the reason he's buying slaves is crystal clear. Then he fires back that he wants to wipe out hunger. But deep down, he knows the real drive behind it is nothing but raw, carnal desire. He blurts that the pure white space he saw before wasn't just a sight. It was the smile of a goddess way beyond any human, and that means he's basically already dead and those lessons. They taught him the core web novel rules, transmigration to another world, a plot pattern so impossible it'll blow his mind, and then he gets to live the hero's life in that new world. After 30 years alone by his trusted partner, he's sure this will finally bring happiness to the goddess. Then it all shatters when someone calls his name, and she snaps, sweetly smiling, calling him an idiot, a nobody, useless at holding a real conversation with women, and top it off, she labels him Mr. Virgin. Annoying, the protagonist realizes he can't argue with the facts. But thanks to his younger sister, he's learned how to swallow verbal abuse and keep standing. Stunned, he blurted, "Who are you?" and she smirked, "I'm the goddess mortals worship." Right then, the hero gets the bombshell, "You're dead." Confusion hits, so he blurts out, "Wait, how did I die?" She explains that a student plummeted from the building and landed on him, killing him instantly. With cheeks burning, the goddess tells him she could feel every delicate curve of the girl's body. And then she bursts into laughter. As soon as he hears it, the boy's mind races with images, and he can't even pretend he doesn't want that kind of touch. Yet in that moment, he feels nothing but the deadly certainty of it. Still, he can't stop himself from being curious about the girl who crashed, wondering if she's really okay or not. The goddess tells him, "Don't worry," then smiles and says she was saved because of the boy's hard-fought effort. Then his shoulders finally drop, and relief hits like a wave. She tells her that he risked everything to save a life, so the reward is coming for his good deed. Right now, she leans in and promises him a special chance in his next life. The goddess leans in and tells him he'll be reborn into a fantasy world packed with swords and magic. But when he wakes up, he won't be using his own body. She leans in and tells you this wild secret. Inside the realm of goddesses, reincarnations pour through the world like a never-ending current. But there's a brutal shortage of people to carry out the work. So she picks and secures the vessels ahead of time, using the bodies of the natives. She tells him he'll grow into a young man named Alan, and the protagonist can't help but think he's got the cutest face ever. Breathless, he blurts that it's a perfect fit, great with the older Winnie-sama, and that today's bond is basically guaranteed. Smiling, the goddess promises she's ready to grant his wish. She'll transform the boy into a young virgin. Seeing it, he snaps that this goddess is a fool. She plays way too easily, like she's barely even breathing. With a cruel smirk, she taunts him, "So, do you want to die?" And when he's fed up, he snaps that he never said a word and demands she stops reading his thoughts. The boy pressed her for the truth about the takeover, asking if she'd fuse with Alan's old personality and whether they'd really end up together with two minds sharing the same body. She shuts him down and admits with a heavy heart that his personality is about to vanish for good. Raised in an orphanage and still brand new to the wild, he's about to die in the dungeon he stepped into for the first time. She warns that once his soul slips away, the protagonist will seize the body and take over. Reality, then it hit him like a punch, and he finally realized the truth. So the hero leans in and asks Alan the big question. Will you bite the dust in this dungeon, or will you get chopped up and turned into monster food? Because he refuses to end up stuck inside a zombie's body. Then the goddess drops the truth. It's exactly because of this that she's handing a transmigrator the ultimate privilege. She tells him the power she'll give is regeneration. Then the boy's brain snaps to a new thought. Is this the same gift that lets people bounce back from injuries and body damage? She asks, "So you get it now?" And he nodded. It'll kick in the second the boy's soul takes over Alan's body. Right when Alan dies, the young hero's personality and soul get injected into him. Then every injury that killed him begins to heal. You're basically asking if this death avoidance trick breaks the rules, because it feels like SSS-level magic for free. He's practically vibrating with excitement, picturing a life packed with sinful nights with women. Until the goddess cuts him off, says that's the explanation, asks if he has more questions, and flat out warns him he's about to be tested and he should be ready. Then doubt hits hard, should he really back out when a glorious future is waiting for him? Right as the thought lands, everything around him starts glowing like it's alive. He rallies everyone to watch him climb into power, because he's about to rule the harem and call it his kingdom. Now we're back in the present, because there once was a time when the protagonist believed life could be like this. His name is Alan, once known as Hyorogari Dashin. Ben swears to you that 3 whole years have already slipped by since he started living in this world of swords and magic. But he's so close to shattering a brand new record for virginity. Head bowed and tears pouring, he can't tell if this is a cruel joke or a nightmare. And on top of that, it's all riddled with ridiculous miscalculations. First off, wiping out monsters is brutally hard, because most of the time they don't even let us win. And the big catch is, leveling up won't let him wear magic. He just can't put it on. The thought that he could do something truly incredible doesn't just thrill him, it hurts. And the only edge he has is his regeneration ability. It fires up fast and guzzles barely any mana, making it deadly effective. And the third miscalculation, you can't just shut off pain receptors. Nobody would want a body that helpless. And that's exactly why he's stuck all alone, because the fourth mistake is failing to get the group's information. Just know this, his only hope is keeping his regeneration hidden from everyone. Because it's not that he can't do it, it's that he can't show it. It's a power handed down by a goddess, one that lets the user heal themselves, and the church swears it's nothing short of miraculous. The fifth error is thinking the church should rule outright. Because with all its piled up wealth, power, and hunger for control, it can snatch political power from the empire in a blink. So he refuses to quit, because backing down isn't in his DNA, and if someone else lacked his vision, they'd have been completely lost for good. After pacing for a while, he finally storms into his destination, a slave merchant's lair. He says that after going from 85, a brilliant idea hit him. What if he can't find companions for his adventure because he refuses to live his life at his own pace? Just know this, with a slave you can bark out any dirty command, even one that's wrong. And the creepy part is it can also control his mind, so his regeneration stays hidden. He's convinced it's a perfect, unbeatable plan. And right here is where his life in a brand new world finally kicks off. The second he stepped inside, right there the man offers the boy a killer idea, and demands to know what kind of slave he's after. He fires back, saying it's time to show every single auction. After laying it all out, the merchant smirks and says, "That's the last one, tell me kid, did anything catch your eye?" The boy's stomach drops and he immediately starts panicking like, "No way, that's way too expensive." Then he decides to flex his brains and goes on the offensive. Later, he turns to the merchant and demands to know if there are any others, leaving him utterly stunned. Thinking for a beat, he realizes he was bluffing, then wonders if it actually worked. When he keeps his voice low, calls it worrying, and asks them to show him everything. The merchant beckons the boy inside, and the protagonist recoils at the place, wondering if that merchant traps people there. Suddenly, he spots two girls trapped and battered with wounds all over their bodies. They stare at the boy with dead-eyed, crushing silence, and it sends him reeling, terrified, frozen, and utterly shocked. He leans in, curious, and asks who they are, then he fires back. "Those with my ears are ancient elves, a superior line, and the other is an old dwarf," before adding that both of them are rare as hell. Then the man snaps that they'd normally be classed as slaves, right as the boy bursts in, blurting out, "So how much would that cost?" And he declares he's taking both of them with him. The merchant's eyes flicker like, "Should you really do this?" Then he snaps and decides to sell them because they're useless now, and they've been sitting here for way too long. Sometime later on, the kid is yanking a cart like it's a mission that can't wait. Clenched his heart as he brought home the two slaves he'd just bought. Pausing for a breath, he demands what they thought, then throws out a sincere apology like it can't wait. He admits they've been crushed for so long, then, right on cue, he kicks in his regeneration power. He finally realizes this is his shot to prove what his power is really worth. He healed the torn hands and even the eyes too. So they got remade from scratch and rolled back to the way they were born, and the second the boy saw it, his mind just blanked in pure shock. While one of the girls snapped in disbelief, shaking and saying, "No way, our bodies and eyes are finally normal." Her colleague stares at her hand, stunned to the bone, because it got cut just a second ago. Seeing it all, the protagonist's nerves spike, and he decides to hold up for a moment, slow down, think it through, and steady himself. He's left staring, wondering who these girls even are, and yeah, apparently you want gorgeous slaves, but you never expected them to be this stunning. Right then, one of them blurts out his name and demands, "So what do they call you?" From Bling, he shoots back that his name is Alan. And right then and there, he spectacularly bites his own tongue. He forces himself to stay calm, telling his heart this is an unexpected gift. And then he can't help it. He's grinning because his harem in another world is finally real. This time, he ripped open his cheat ability to restore the slaves he'd bought, turning them into two stunning girls. So if you finally keep the promise he swore to himself when he reincarnated in this world. Staring at the flower, he can't help wondering if this is exactly what people usually imagine. After snagging those two burls, he emptied his last savings, down to the very last coin. So yeah, he didn't even have a coin for an inn, and now he's stuck living out in the open, deep inside a monastery swallowed by the mountains. A goddess suddenly appears, and with a sharp snap of words, she warns that showing up without a plan is a disaster. Then the hero snaps back that, just because she's a goddess, she still can't barge into people's inner thoughts and take over their monologues. No matter what, he realizes the truth fast, So much of this was never even in his wildest predictions. Now imagine hearing those words from the two girls who rewound the damage, restored everything, and saved the day. So yeah, even now, he's still busy updating his record, keeping that virginity intact. Two slaves stand there, Sylphie, an ancient elf, and Noel, an old dwarf, rare races in this world, like you almost never see them. But besides the info we've got, like names, species, and how rare each species is, everything else about them is still a total mystery. He cracks open the letter, and instantly his nerves spike because he's trying hard, but he can't read or write a single word in this world's script, and he's terrified the assessment scroll is packed with something crucial. Suddenly, one of the girls leans in and blurts out, "So what are you doing now?" It's actually Elf Sylphie who slips away and leaves him totally mortified. With nerves rattling his whole voice, he blurts out that he just wants to grow yams, and then straight up asks her if she's into that kind of food. Curiosity sparked in her, she shot him a question, "Are you really gonna grow those for real?" Then his mind screams, no way she doesn't dig into those yams grown by a virgin godfather. He changes the whole topic and asks if she's going for a walk, and it totally throws her off. In his head, he's screaming one truth. They can't crash outside or go to bed hungry until the yams are ready to be harvested for them. So he puts together a picnic like it's a secret weapon, meat and all, because he's convinced that the moment they get a taste, they'll be perfect for hugging. He slides some food over to Noel and tells him it's insanely tasty. The girl shoots him a quick thank you without a single reaction. Then it hits him, those two are still being way too careful. Later, alone, he fumes that in this messed up situation, he can't even invite them over for carnal relations. Then it hits him right now he has to get to work. So he tells the two, "I'm heading to the city, wait right here for me." When he came back, he paused and asked, "Want anything special to eat?" But both of them shook their heads and said they didn't want anything in particular. As he strides off, he realizes he doesn't even know what they like to eat, and his whole plan to win them over with food has literally gone up in smoke. Sylph is stunned because he really did it. He left those two slaves alone. She realizes she and Noel have already snapped back to their original powers, and even with those slave tricks running wild, it's not that hard to break free of the control. She can't help but wonder, could he be testing their loyalty right now? And they're totally lost, like what's even happening right now. She'd already snapped back into her true powers, just like her ancient grandfather. And she must have read that assessment scroll, because that advanced tree magic is exactly what helps her grow plants and cultivate them. With this power, she can force them to burst into bloom and bear fruit right away. So now he only has to bark an order and won't have to carry it all by himself. Confused, she can't figure out what he's aiming for, but she's still relieved her body is back. Because deep down she realizes there's zero hint he's trying to use their bodies to chase his ambitions. Wondering if he'll switch up as soon as he has their trust, she slips after the boy to find out for sure. She peers through the window, asks if this is a clinic, then spots him bandaging a girl and goes, "Why aren't you using restoration?" If he didn't do it, the church would have been watching him. And this way the boy could grab any role he wanted, stacking every honor he could imagine. Little girl heal, thanks Alan. Then Elle snaps back into focus, and it looks like the treatment worked for good. Alan flashes the little girl a smile and tells her to take care of herself, and that single gesture leaves the elf's mind spinning. Because why is he acting like a saint when he's the kind of guy who buys slaves? And still, he refuses to ask for a single thing from the slaves he owns. Totally baffled, she can't stop wondering what Alan really had in mind all along. And then, just like that, about 3 months slip by. Alan asks why he won't just use magic to make the plants grow. Still clueless, he can't help but wonder if she wants to farm. And after restoration, he sees how she can fully return and work on her own with zero problems. He fires back that he's grateful for her thoughtfulness, and she grins. She says that with the seed from the tree, she can pull crops up right away. Then she leans in and asks if he gets it. And before he can respond, she demonstrates it by making one crop sprout and grow in just a few seconds. He's left utterly stunned. Seeing magic this fierce, he's left completely baffled, stunned into silence, then blurts out, "What is this? And what kind of power is that?" Realizing she'd hidden this power from him all this time, she tells him it's something he should have known all along. It had to be because it was probably scribbled right there on her assessment scroll. Right then, he starts wrestling with the question, should he finally tell the truth? So he said he's basically a baby who can't read or write. But he can't just blurt out that their master is a baby, right? Because it's painfully embarrassing for him to be your master. And a guy has to look capable if he wants a girl to respect him. So he decides to spin a lie to both of them. He gets it, people will instantly slap the productive yam diamond label on him, as if he can somehow coax yams to grow in just 1 second, for reasons nobody can explain. Nervous as hell, he tells himself to breathe and he warns, don't get branded a pervert, watch what you do. He's gotta keep his value from getting too low. so now he needs a killer excuse that instantly boosts how they see him. Magic is a two-sided coin. Flip it the wrong way and it poisons you, flip it right and it becomes medicine. He says that's exactly why he never pressures anyone to use magic. And when the moment comes for them to step in and help, he wants them to treat choosing magic on their own as something truly important. And he admits it straight up. He can do anything, and once people believe that, it turns into the strongest kind of tie there is. After he says it, the nerves slam back in. He starts doubting himself like, who am I to talk like that? He shrugs and says you don't get to force him to use it. Then he grabs the crop, and for a second, sheer embarrassment hits him hard. From Saul's point of view, the elf gets it in his head but says nothing at all, total silence. She knows that no matter how hard he acts like a good person and keeps throwing on disguises, his eyes will still betray the real feelings he can't hide. She clocked the shift in his face and felt it, like his heart had been ripped open, and his words were scrambling to convince himself of something that just wasn't true. And the worst part? She's sure it isn't a lie because he's been through the exact same thing. Back when he got lost in chasing his power, he swore he could pull off anything he wanted. Then something hit, shattered his thinking, and now he's scared of his own power, so he's hiding from it. The girl knows she's trying to wow people with this magic just to trick them, and it shoves shame down her throat every time she does it. At this exact moment, she whips around and grabs Manuel's attention. She leans in and asks, "Can I get 1 minute?" Because she can't stop thinking about the future, and she wants to talk about it right now. The second Alan steps inside his house, he freezes in total disbelief, and his basket slips right out of his hands. He realizes they've planted all kinds of things, and his mind races. What are they trying to do? He realizes he's not the reincarnated one at all. Some trashy plant ability is hogging the spotlight while the heroes even noticed. So when the kind-hearted elf spots him, she welcomes him with a smile, and then the boy blurts out, "Why did you use magic?" With pure innocence, she asked if she'd moved too fast. And if she used it at all, it was still because she chose to. The boy recalls what she said back yesterday, and then his stomach drops as he wonders, was she really trying to tear him down? He's convinced this was the perfect scheme, using modern knowledge to become untouchable, while the elf fires back, thinking he doesn't even bother with his power, and that he's trying to force her to live on yams. Then the boy jumps into the comments and thanks her, telling her she doesn't have to push herself into anything. He's convinced this is his time to explode into the spotlight. But then his face flips. He smiles like he's got one more card to play and says, "I'm not done yet, I still have something to show you." After some time, he decides to invent a kind of concrete that doesn't even exist here yet, build rock-solid buildings and lift everyone's living standards. Because if he pulls it off, he'll realize it's the better path for the future. No one's gonna stop and ask what he's doing. In the comments, they claim she can smell what he's doing, and they're telling you to let her join in. The boy's blown away by their first real good moment, so he shrugs and says, "It's all good." And then the girl lines in like, "So, what do you want to do?" He blurts out that he wants to build a brand new concrete house, and as the girl closes in, she suddenly asks, "What even is concrete?" He answers that he used water, sand, and gravel to harden the cement. But before he can finish, she cuts in and admits she has no clue what cement even is. So this boy breaks down what cement is for her, step by step, and Noelle immediately jumps in, "Okay, what's next?" And the protagonist promises, "I'll teach you." After what feels like forever, he finally manages to teach her. Then Noelle snaps at her to sit down and watch. Without warning, she blasts out a wild magic move called Extraction. The hero snaps to it. Somehow she gathered the raw materials in the blink of an eye. And it'll end up drowning out everything he ever did. He finally clocks it. She and even the elf are cheating too, and they've both got powers. As despair swallowed him whole, the cement plant finally finished its job. Then hear her tell him clear as day, she needs the elf's help right here. He's fully clocked it. Lately, the two have been talking non-stop like something shifting between them. Noelle snaps to her friend that this guy knows absolutely nothing about economics, then pushes her to ditch the useless pay and handle it all themselves. Later, somewhere deep in town, the hero freezes and asks himself, "So, what am I even supposed to do here?" No, turns out it doesn't just stop there, it ends with the manufacturing master. While Sylphie takes over as the plant master. Watching them unfold, he can't help but wonder why it all spiraled into this. Because he was meant to reincarnate with a cheat ability, get super strong and flirt with girls. Alan should have been set, but right now, he has no idea what's about to happen. He doesn't know that the instant he buys those things, the world will start worshipping him like a terrifying demon king, and that the future will brand him a threat to a hero, dragging him into a wild life of non-stop highs and brutal lows. Noelle couldn't stop thinking about what Alan said, and her dwarf instincts started blaring at full volume. She'd never felt anything like this before, until now. And when they followed the protagonist's plan to the letter, everything clicked. And it was absolutely mind-blowing. She finally clicks that Alan isn't some random nobody at all, and she knows it for real. And just like that, he refuses to act all high and mighty. Because with the knowledge he's carrying, he's got something worth sharing, and honestly, this boy is amazing from head to toe. She's convinced every single thing you taught her lit up her life and made her feel pure joy. Sulf even said that just like that, it looks like both of them can finally put their faith in Alan. Noah jumps in too, saying, yeah, we can do this. She realizes she'll shoulder Alan's burdens herself. Later, the protagonist jolts awake, then climbs out of bed and spots two fresh monasteries staring at them like, what is going on here? Just like that, Noelle bursts into view and throws him into a total shock. She tells him she's getting 3 for each one, and the moment the boy clocks her expression, he realizes exactly what she's trying to do. This totally blew our minds with how wildly different it was. When Anastasia comes into view, he blurts out that she's right there, adorable, and looks like a real-life doll. At this moment, the girl grabs the moment by the throat and tells them she busted her back for all 3 of them. With a playful little pout, she asked him right then to praise her softly. Out of nowhere, the elf grilled Alan and asked why he couldn't just compliment her straight instead of hinting around it. Suddenly, the protagonist's mind starts racing with reflections, and he finally admits he gets it now. Those 2 were working together to take him down. Stoffy claims there's a talk show waiting to spark a juicy conversation between 2 stunning slaves. She tells Alan that he's got no money, no talent, and he's only useful for exploration. Then she adds that her friend doesn't think he's exactly totally competent either. Noah cracks that beyond everything else, he's also a filthy otaku, skinny as a stick too. And Sylphie immediately fires back that he's a total virgin. Living in the same building with him is straight up dangerous, so she'd be thrilled to get her own space. Especially once she starts building new houses fast, like right away. The elf pops off in the comments saying that if her friend sets up a spot for the pig too, he won't whine about it. Then Noah jumps in, telling him he should thank them for both their kindness. Only thing is that whole scene was the protagonist's imagination, and when it doesn't make sense, Sylphie starts asking, wait, what's going on? Nervous as hell, he pushes forward, thinking he's made it too far to turn back now. Because from their side, he's perfectly set to deliver a compliment to Noelle. Right then, she locks eyes and thinks, oh, this means I'm allowed to get my head petted. Since they had to get here, she begged him not to look like some kind of pervert. With a gentle hand on her head, he leans in and thanks her. Grinning at the gratitude and the head pat, she stays quiet, but her smile says everything. Blinded by shock, he swears his heart is getting purified right there in his chest. Then the elf starts spiraling, convinced he's not talking about her in the comments. And that's exactly when jealousy kicks in. The boy realizes Noelle is healing, so he doesn't shove her away watching this moment. And when Sylphie sees how close they've gotten, she's left completely stunned. In that moment, she forced herself to stay calm, reminded everyone she's an ancient elf, one of the most noble species, and swore she'd never get jealous over some simple head pat. He realizes that from tomorrow onward, he'll boost the crop harvests, practically insisting he has no hidden agenda, like he's been thinking she's indispensable all along. Months slip by again, and the elf just watches the protagonist, then mutters that he's still out there farming alone like the magic they share has vanished from his mind. She breaks it down. Magic has 5 core powers: fire, water, wind, metal, and earth. Then adds that elves get an extra evolved attribute, like this one's perfect fit for plants. Meanwhile, Noelle's got fire and metal down cold, plus he's ridiculously compatible with earth. Matching that perfect balance is unmatched. It's stretched into everything: food and even housing. Neither of them touches their magic unless they choose to. And Alan hasn't once managed to drag a single spell out of them against their will. She gets it, he's not ruled by desire, he hates drama, and yeah, he acts like a recluse, but that's because he's got one wild obsession: yams, and still he's a complete person. The elf is sure there's more to the boy, so she stops guessing and decides to dig into who he really is, and what he's truly feeling. Thinking if he's really alone at all, or if he isn't, then realizing he might not even have to pick those rare species in the first place. She closes in on Alan, demands he say it straight from his own mouth, and then hits him with the big question: why did he buy both of them? Nervous as hell, the boy wrestles with telling the truth. Karma ties him to both of them, and that's all it is. Then he realizes he can't stand saying it, and right on cue, Noelle shows up, claiming she's got the same interest in this whole thing. She tells him because you're a rare species, your worth is priceless. Then she adds she's only using him to cover the needs of everyone around him, and finally she leans in and asks, so, is there nothing you even want to do? He snaps back that all he needs is enough food, a fancy place to live, and then he asks, are you seriously messing with him? The boy insists he's already taken care of, then snaps, why is he handing out more food for free? They demand why he won't cash in on their power. Then he breaks down in tears and admits that if he did, he'd be even more pathetic. He figures the 2 already fed them at some house, and then he can't help but question why he should even cash in on what they could do. He knows if they demand to stop and lick his feet, He's got no choice but to obey, and he'd actually be thrilled about it. Watching them, he can't help but panic and wonder how he's supposed to break free from this mess. At that exact moment, the elf unleashes her rare tree magic while Noelle fires up her lightning-fast refining magic. Then the protagonist clocks it instantly. They're trying to tear his self-esteem to pieces. The moment the protagonist realizes it's their plan, he commits. Because if that's what they want, he'll do exactly what they asked. So here's the deal: gain the courage to think it through. Then speak your mind to him straight from the heart about what he really wants to do. In his head, he grabs at sinful thoughts, but when he answers, he insists he's ready to start freeing the world from hunger. That moment hits boom, and both of them freeze, stunned, cheeks burning red with blushing embarrassment. In the chaos of his troubled thoughts, the hero's true self snapped. This answer had him fuming. He can't stop wondering if he's just running away, yelling coward at himself. Like if he weren't the oldest son, he'd have already cracked and died right there from self-hatred. So he starts replaying the protagonist's answer in his head, because freeing the world from hunger isn't just a dream anymore. And then boom, it starts to click. This whole path is worthy of a god, and when you break down everything he's done, the meaning hits you hard. She realizes the Yami's treasure isn't just special. It's a killer crop that can grow in wastelands, so people can finally be saved from hunger again. She can't shake the feeling that his cloudy, distant look, like he's holding something back, might be tied to that perfect ideal he once dared to picture for himself. After that jaw-dropping reply, both of them freeze and stare at each other like, wait, what? They know their master's got a dream in his heart so huge and wild, it blows past anything they could ever imagine. Everyone still thinks she doesn't fully trust him, so she shocks the room by walking up to the boy with a warm smile, saying she wants to stay right by his side to see what kind of world he dreams of building, and insisting that if that's his goal, they've got to start cultivating the land. Seeing all that, the boy freezes in pure confusion and still nods along, because right now he can only tell one thing. The hero story he's hearing is just a flimsy excuse, and that brave tale from another world has just taken its very first step. In this world, there are only two kinds of people, losers and winners, and the ones who take the lead and the ones who fall in line behind them. Along with the ones who profit and the ones who get used, a school erupts. Someone blurts out a deal, trade green peas for their crab. The protagonist blurts that it's his absolute favorite, and the girl snaps back that this kind of trade is totally unfair. She flashes a grin and tells him, I'm still growing. As he closes in, the hero spits that he won't spare his own little sister. No mercy. The boy can't shake the worry that Mizuki-chan, his little sister from a past life, might be hurt. And then he finally puts the pieces together and realizes that. And yeah, turns out reincarnating wasn't such a bad deal after all. He realizes his thoughts have slipped back to the past to dodge reality. Then he's fully gone, tangled up and swinging in a fight. Then the elf leans in and tells him to roll up his sleeves and cultivate the land, so the world can finally choke down hunger. Smiling, the protagonist flashes a grin and declares, I'm right. Alan figures a smart beauty like Sulf has to know about his real motives, even if she pretends she doesn't. And he can't stop wondering if she's about to play dumb and swallow his lies. Because if that's the game, then he's about to get yanked around like she's holding the strings. And this whole setup might be the opening act before his life ends in another world. But if you truly believe he can still throw down, then remember, he's got a whole arsenal of modern know-how tucked away, and once things spiral this far, he's going to hunt his revenge with it. Then he twists the whole conversation and pushes the idea of making fertilizers. He explains that this magic is meant to feed the soil, boosting the nutrients plants need, so they can finally grow crops even on dead, barren ground thanks to Sophie's power, even though trying to pull it off for the long haul is going to be a real challenge. The curious elf leans in and says, if we had something like this, we'd burn way less mana, and we'd better start thinking about making it taste better too. Right then, the protagonist drops a new trick, crop rotation, and tells everyone to graze cattle on the worn-out fields, then plant wheat on the rich, fertile soil. He breaks it down like a genius plan: plant pasture for the cattle, watch their numbers explode, and then let them graze hard, because their manure feeds the soil and turns it into the perfect, endless cycle. When Dudu declares that women should lead the way to peace, he also pushes to expand the land with hoes so crops can grow. When he spots the elf, he can't even speak. She leaves him completely lost for words. Then she breaks down in tears, convinced not a single woman in the whole world would ever love a vain, arrogant idiot like him. Right then, Noelle charges in buzzing with excitement, nudges him gently, and asks for every detail, because she's ready to kick things off immediately. Nervous as hell, the boy panics. At this rate, his chance to shine is getting snatched, and that loss is about to turn into someone else's big win. He shoots back that it's safer, better, for him to handle it himself. Suddenly, the elf snaps the boy's attention, says his name, and tells him point-blank that throwing a tantrum here isn't cool. As he steps closer, the man just breaks into a smile. Then he's left stunned, wondering why she thinks he's nothing but a spoiled kid. Noel yanks the boy's arm and fires off questions, starting with the fertilizer, then demands a straight explanation. Then his face cracks into a grin. He starts right into it, saying the 3 lifelines plants crave most are nitrogen, potassium, and phosphoric acid. He tells them to start by grabbing fish scraps, meat, and bone meal, then unleash the elves and Sylphie's magic to blend canola and soybean oils, while he leans on his super modern know-how, and it's instantly shaving off a ton of time. After all that, Noel leans in and says it genuinely sounds awesome, and the boy fires back that it feels like something straight out of a mystery TV show quote. She tells them she'll kick things off right away, and later on, the protagonist leans in and asks if they're getting yummy soup today. Noel pops in and says she's got something to show the elf before lunch, and Sylphie blurts, "I was just about to call you," and that she'd already made peace with it all. While she was mixing the fertilizers, she fiddled with the ratios, accidentally made a bunch of extra, and it left them both staring in shock. As she writes out the proportions, she jokes that garlic won't stay the same. Its reaction shifts how much you end up using. And tell her to throw herself into the experimenting, tweak everything until it works. She flashes a grin and says, with this his life gets easier, plain and simple. Right then the boy snaps into realization. Noel is the one who manufactures, the elf handles cultivation, and he's left holding the mess, complaining and record-keeping. He suddenly realizes these weird jobs are landing on him non-stop. But he can't shake the feeling this can't be some reincarnated into another world situation with a cheat power waiting to rescue him. He realizes they robbed him of his spotlight again, and then dumped all the work on him like it was nothing. He swears they're exploiting him, and there's no way they can do this to him because he believes he's the master. At that exact moment, the elf's smile starts creeping in. She's convinced it never hit her again, so she's just laying it all out, showing Noel how grateful she really is. Then right in the middle of it, he interrupts and calls them over, asking if they can pause the cultivation and grab lunch first. She takes one look at the whole mess and realizes he's wildly curious, and that his dream of starving hunger right out of the world is honestly inspiring. Still, she can't shake the doubt, with the strength he's got, is any of this even possible? Then he talks fertilizer and this thing called crop rotation, and she goes completely silent. Right there it hits her, dividing the soil into 4 types. And suddenly she sees it, with people like him, you could feed the world with way less grind. What truly blows her away is the sheer mountain of knowledge it took to think all of it up. For ages, he stayed locked in a non-stop frantic fight, trying to forge his wild ideal into something real. She thinks he bought her because an ancient elf can command tree magic at will, and that power supercharges plant growth. And even then, he doesn't force her to work. He doesn't give her any slave crest to obey. With a bright smile, she praises how boldly this slave's independence deserves respect, then says out loud, "You're fascinating, really." Whoa, this kid gets curious and blurts out, "Did Sylphie say something?" Sylphie shakes it off like it's nothing, then looks right at them and asks if they want more soup. After a while, Alan finally gets himself ready to head to work. He looks into the hole he remembers, Noel made it, and he realizes it's crazy easy to use. And yeah, even with everything going sideways from the plan, he's still convinced this is the route that finally breaks the easy road. So his power can deliver exactly what he's been chasing all along. His regeneration power is an absolutely busted cheat, one that lets him come back from the dead. And if you nail it right, it'll even drag buried nutrients up from the deep and turn barren ground into something fertile. It's convinced Sylphie and Noel will sing his praises for the great job he's doing right now. And yeah, this kid is truly locked in. He grinds through the night, swearing he just wants to be liked and finally appreciated. So the fight keeps raging long after dark. Noel remembers this like it's burned into her soul. Cultivation runs on restoration, and the whole thing is straight up incredible. As she watches the protagonist, she realizes he's not just talking, he's battling to wipe out hunger for real. So yeah, she bought the mantra servant, and that's exactly why. But damn, he trusts the two of them so solidly, no doubts, no hesitation, and that's what scares her. Because it would be so easy to use them for selfish reasons. So she can't help wondering, does he really believe they won't turn on him? And she realizes it's not the whole story. Alan has never once issued them a command. She realizes the truth. What he's really chasing isn't just a goal. It's the chance to walk beside them until that distant future finally becomes real. And every bit of hard-won wisdom they gain proves he trusts them with his whole heart. And on top of that, she clocks how responsible he is, always tuned in, always ready for whatever they need. Right now, Noel swears on the ancient dwarves' names that she'll stand by him no matter what. Turning his head to the side, she realizes Self probably feels the same. And the elf gushes that Alan is just straight up amazing. Noel nods, grinning that he's got to bring his A-game, and Self smiles back, saying she's all in too. Because Alan won't force them, he'll demand they choose it for themselves, so they do everything they can to make it count. And right then, those two slaves lock in their resolve and confirm they're ready to act on their own will. Suddenly, the goddess pops up and blasts him with pathetic and hilarious. After all those useless errands, and the boy snaps back, "Can you at least stop showing up so often?" Swapping the topic mid-breath, he leaned in and asked the woman straight up if all goddesses were just like her. Laughing, the woman smirks and says, "Maybe he's the reason for all of this." The boy's mind races through self-magic, how she controls her balance, and he realizes you can't just blow everything up at once. Noel is locked in her workshop, getting ready. At that exact moment, he starts daydreaming up wild romantic scenarios with both of them, and you're dying to see it all play out for real. Suddenly, his eyes lock onto something wildly strange. He realizes that if he's got nothing to do, it hits him. Why not invent something? As Nana gets closer, Noel perks up and asks her, "Hey, are you free right now?" Then he slips in, "I've got a favorite request for you." He tells her, "If you're swamped, I'll swing back later," and she just shrugs. "I don't mind at all." She flashes a piece of paper and tells her, "I've got something for you to do." In his head, he thinks she's right next to him, and when he imagines her touch, his heart sinks into something soft and warm. Then he can't help but wonder, did she get so swallowed up in the project that she completely forgot he was even standing there? Noah breaks the silence, saying no sizes are listed. Then the boy blurts that he'll go back and fix it so sizes are included, asks if she can make one sized for a table display, and the girl nods like, "Yeah, I get it, making it's easy. No problem at all." She whips around to the hero and demands to know why he wants it. Nervous as hell, he finally starts to answer, mumbling that this is something he has to do. He's grinning, sure these games will be a blast. Because once they play and have fun together, he knows they'll hit it off and stumble into even more things to talk about. Hearing that, the girl nods and vows she understands. She'll jump on the project right away, so tell me, could Alan be the one who goes after the other path next or not? She realizes Alan and Noel are up to something in the workshop. And while she waits, she catches the word review and freezes, thinking it's the first time she's ever heard it, while the boy shrugs that they should say they're playing with it instead of using it, since these are just for leisure. And the moment she hears that, the elf clocks the truth, it's just for recreation. Then she snaps, asking why it even matters, because Alan's trying to wipe out hunger and he's got zero time for games. Games, she gets it in her bones. She has to corner him and demand the details. The elf approaches and asks if she can join the two. Alan shoots back yes, like it's the only option. Sulfin finally gets it. There really was a hidden meaning lurking inside him, just like she suspected. That dreamy, lovesick look Alan usually wears, it's totally fake. Because the real Alan clawed his way to immense power through endless simulations and brutal suffering. Now he's got the smarts, the edge, and the skill to fool anyone. She's locked in, she thinks she should be his strength, so she dives headfirst into his cause. At that exact moment, the elf launches into explaining the game in reverse, where the pieces split into black and white, and one wrong fall means the player gets wiped out. When the elf spots this game, he can't help but wonder, what's with all the buzz in the comments, and why is everyone so obsessed? She's convinced these rules can click for anyone with a sharp strategy, packed with real freedom. And she even sees a future where kids and adults both rush to the game, turning it into an absolute gold mine. Right now, he pushes for a bet instead of messing around for laughs. Winner gets to call any command to the loser. And then he leans in and asks what she thinks. With her nerves shaking, she decides this is her moment to demand obedience, because she's convinced Alan just wants to see whether they'll follow orders or not. That Alpha isn't out there chasing easy laughs, he's playing with purpose, and it's somehow tied to wiping out hunger once and for all. She's stuck in her head, should she dodge the bet to prove she understands, or step up and prove her skill through pure action. She screams her name, and the dwarf snaps back that they've both got to give it everything they've got. Then the elf nods and fully backs up her companion. Noel snaps up the proposal, grinning, and says, "Trust me, this way is gonna be way more fun." It's done. Now they're locked in, ready to go all out and live up to his expectations because the deal's sealed and the real showdown is starting. They're about to play the game of reverse. Right now, the elf finally realizes Alan is the mastermind behind the game, and he knows every secret in it, so she can't see a single way they'll pull off a win. But then right when it hits, she spots something wildly strange. She studies the game for a second, and realizes the move is way more limited than she ever guessed. And yeah, every move has to happen in the same order. That's what makes it brutal, because you can practically see him setting up his own nightmare and walking right into it. Sniffling, the protagonist tears up and admits he lost. Stunned, the elf blurts out the question, did this blow up into a defeat he already planned for? Right from the start, Alan never even aimed for victory. And now she realizes these matches are just cover, a setup to hand the master his orders. These goldmine creations are games we can't make right now, because the current money situation won't let us produce something simple. She gets it. At the end of the day, this whole thing boils down to raising money for his cause. and the order they need to follow is crystal clear. Later on, they'll swear it's a total win, and that his promise is what drives the order. She raked in selfie comments, and everyone basically begged him to register with the Merchant Guild, while Noel shot back that she wants full property rights to this creation game. The two wonder if this is exactly the kind of answer the protagonist had been hoping for. Relieved as hell, Galt breaks into joy because you already knew they'd beg for freedom from slavery. He figured rookies like them couldn't possibly take him down. After all, he was a veteran at this game. No matter how he tries to frame it, he's utterly crushed. And then he turns around and thanks them with his whole heart. Watching Sylphie register herself at the Merchants Guild, right there in front of everyone. Guild couldn't touch him, Galt was totally happy. And just like that, when he sees Noel step up and register with the Alchemists Guild, it all hits the same way. He finally gets it. Since they still want to stay his slaves, it means they don't truly hate him at all. Galt tells him, since we're in the Imperial capital, we'd better hit the shops and go shopping. Stolfi can't stop thinking they look like they were having a blast, and she's dying to know if they actually nailed that test. She knows this isn't over. She keeps pushing forward, hunting the next step of how to use it, even if it's only a tiny bit at a time, and that effort inches her closer until he finally notices their growing closeness. Then pure joy hits her so hard she can't help but feel ecstatic. 2 weeks tore by after Sylphie and Noel had their hopes stamped into the guild. Meanwhile, Alan is completely hooked on sugar right now. Sylphie, they're about to start a game where you play with 0 rooks, bishops, silvers, gold generals, knights, or lances. And they settle on the simplest difficulty, no time limits, and a move rule that lets him bring a piece back right after he moves it. Sophie says it's the perfect warm-up for her mind, and he always fires back, telling you straight up that you're weak. She tells him back that it was the perfect way to melt her stress, then thanks him. And as the boy breaks down crying, he admits he never took it seriously for even a second, not once, not even for her. Noel barges in mid-conversation, cuts them off, and says they'll be out the door soon, then turns to the protagonist and drops the bomb. They're heading back to the capital today, and they'll be back before dinner. The boy's lady waved goodbye, wishing them luck and a smooth, safe journey ahead. As they head out, he flops onto the bed and ponders it all, locked in the belief that his modern knowledge still has plans ready to be unleashed. He's dead set on taking a straight shot into a no-strings, carnal relationship, and he's already plotting, spiking their drinks with alcohol to make their bodies burn and their judgment fade, or just letting it all play out as it goes. Suddenly, the goddess materializes and snaps, "Are you alone again?" And the boy shoots back that she needs to stay out of his fantasies. He tells them the two headed for the capital, and the goddess snaps back that this same thing has been happening non-stop lately. After a moment of thinking, the boy finally gets it, she's right, and he realizes he hasn't seen them so much as buy a thing, so he blurts out, "Then why are we even doing this?" Then the woman snaps, asking if they're really walking away from their master, especially after the bond cooled and they started working so far from home. Seeing it, he figures the magic let him stretch their food. Then he shrugs at how they can't appreciate what they've got. Because yeah, both of them are adults. Naturally, they're craving that mouth-watering food and living it up in their sharpest outfits. And now he's back, this old man dragging everyone into only the games he wants to play. He figures they got fed up with him after he showed up alone at the capital. At that exact moment, he couldn't stop asking himself what he'd do if they ever decided to sell themselves at an adult establishment. Sobbing as he sprints for the sea, he blurts out that this has absolutely no chance of happening, accusing him of stripping them of even the basics for survival, saying the only way to exploit them was to first hand them a fake, happy life. He stops, looks inward, and grinds even harder. He barrels up to the two the moment they call his name, and he tells them they can have anything they want. Then his voice cracks as he begs them not to leave him. Seeing that, the girl's eyes instantly brim with tears. The boy's jaw drops. She's suddenly got tears streaming down her face, and he's left completely stunned. He says they've had it rough and just barely manages to hold back his tears. Then he tells the woman to wait a second while he pulls money from his account, and she tells him she'll check Mr. Allen's bank balance. She tells him you've still got $3 million left, and each one is worth 100 yen. The elf leans in and tells him straight up that she's been diligently funneling the creation game usage fees right into his account. Looking back, he never skips. He always shows up in the guild's waiting room, and he's out on the street with the kids, too. He spots cheerful old folks chatting up a storm right alongside merchants and adventurers. He's stunned. Turns out this is insanely popular everywhere. He explains that to get the rights to those items on guild trips with merchants, they struck a contract with a sacred spirit. So if the mission works, the guild will boost his rank to the top tier, and 1% of every sale will funnel into his bank account. And then the protagonist just stares, baffled at the elf's watery eyes, because she's been fighting back tears the entire time. Out of his mind with excitement, he blurts that he gets it, then asks if they're shopping first. And when he gets the chance, he promises he'll do whatever they want. They lock eyes and the gears start turning in both their minds. As she closes in, Self tells the hero she's genuinely grateful. Noelle rattles off where they need to go, then drops yet another destination. And that whole chaos starts driving the protagonist up the wall. After some time, they'd gone and bought over 50 slaves. The girl on the right introduces herself as Elle, the middle one's Tina, and the left one is Rai. Then one of them blurts that her name is Aura. Aura smiles and says it's a pleasure working with him, calling him master, and right then the boy's head spins because suddenly everything feels beautiful. Like this is every man's dream, his own harem fantasy. He thinks, starting today, I'm the village chief, and Noelle tells him they've got big hopes for him. Yet deep down, the boy feels like everyone's scheming behind his back. Right now, the master has to support over 50 slaves, and that thought hits him hard. He's left wondering what happens to his whole supernatural life from here. Later, they finally crawled into bed, only to realize tomorrow they'd be responsible for feeding all 50 people every single day. He crawls out of bed and immediately thinks, those two are definitely here for something. A few hours ago, the slave tent was still standing, just barely. The elf smirked and said she'd grab the girl up front, then sweep up everyone lined up in the back too. The merchant starts throwing out an estimate, but the girl snaps back. He needs to cut a fair deal once he sees what these girls have endured, and he should drop it by at least 2 digits. And he shoots a question back. Wouldn't it be cheaper to sell off the unsold slaves instead of just keeping them sitting in inventory? To bargain on equal terms with the slave traders, Sylph started treating the slaves like goods. Then she convinces herself she's amazing at talking down even a seasoned merchant. Like he's just some indecisive fool she can sway. After one of the slaves gets freed, Sylph rushes up and the girl blurts out that she's sorry, but Sylph shakes it off and tells her not to worry. And the poor hero, he's stunned, staring at her like this is exactly what he's been admiring all along. Crying is convinced he's about to have the best day ever. And that's when nerves hit hard. He worries the elf's powers are so overwhelming they'll never let him assimilate. He gets it if someone reincarnated can't calm their nerves, they'll die for good, no second chance. Meanwhile, Noelle can't shake the feeling that this girl's powers are moments from detonating. First, she declares that this girl's alchemy power is straight up top tier. Training honed it to a level so sharp it was basically unstoppable. But once you're included, there's no way to learn what you're capable of. Back in the present, our protagonist is stuck in bed, spiraling with desperation, staring at the ceiling like time is sprinting, and realizing he has to hatch a plan for what comes next. Meanwhile, the elf convinces herself this is the right place, and that Alan truly takes good care of her. Until out of nowhere, tears well up in her eyes and she doesn't even notice it happening. She couldn't stop worrying she'd turn out to be a letdown. After all those entertainment hits, they finally landed on this. The boy screws up the games every single day, letting her win on purpose and acting totally childish like defeat is the whole joke. He's smiling like he's got it all figured out. She can't shake the thought that he couldn't possibly be that clueless, and she's sure you're ready to step up and take on the merchants. Blushing, she realizes there's something unexpectedly kind in him, and she swears to keep it buried. Like every slave, she was supposed to be worked past her breaking point until she ran dry, but Alan stepped in with warmth and you can practically see those walls crumbling already. And he doesn't buy people just to erase hunger, no, it's bigger than that. That's when the protagonist, closing in on the elf, asks Alan for permission to let her pass. Then the boy tells her she's freaking out too much, so she should just find a comfy spot and sit tight. But she insists she's totally fine, and her companion backs her up with the exact same words. The boy keeps thinking, does she really not want to be stuck in a room with a man for too long? He can't shake the feeling that every win is being snatched away from him, while the very guy keeps smiling and praising their accomplishments. But he has to make sure everyone properly recognizes it, so he seizes the moment to restate his stance, then confidently declares, I'm proud of you. The elf brags that he's been raking in serious money, and when it's confirmed, her companion snaps that he should spend every last coin to keep the slaves fed. She decides this isn't the kind of place he deserves praise, and her companion nods along without hesitation. Seeing that, the protagonist couldn't shake the feeling it was a sarcastic jab aimed straight at him. He can't stop wondering, does she even feel a little joy about pulling in 3 million coins? And he's sitting there like, does she realize what the workers at her clinic make? Swapping the subject midstream, the boy flat out rejects him and demands info about the Room of Futures. And he snaps, asking her if she's really okay with it. The goddess sniffs the air and declares the room reeks, and the boy can't help but wonder, why is he so freakishly nervous? He argues they should turn the slave buying cost into a separate yearly debt for each person, and the moment that debt gets paid off, their freedom kicks in. So they'd bet everything on farming and trade, building a workforce that turns work into goods and goods into real money. And they'll cash it in to cover wages, Every single year, that debt gets paid off. After that, he leans in and asks, "So what do you think?" And his mind lights up because this lets him throw off the chains of obligation. Finally, a solution that hits the perfect spot. He believes this kind of entrepreneurial responsibility is only the start, making sure the employee's event stays alive and thriving. Then one of the girls interrupts and tells him to wait. The elf bluntly asks if he plans to sell every single one at the original price, then presses him, honestly, on what a fair price would be for her. And her companion chimes in that he should really rethink the whole idea. But he can't wrap his head around the plan, because his real mission was to snatch talent and wipe out hunger for good. Nervous shakes hit the group as they finally realize this punch landed way too hard. So he keeps insisting he'd rather not treat people like slaves just to use them, and he wants to steer clear of that life entirely. Because in the end, he just wants someone to stand by his side. And if any of those slaves somehow scraped together the cash to wipe out their debt, that would be all he needed. Noel and the crew spell it out. Using alchemy, they'll forge farm tools and fertilizers, feeding off the elves, natural bond with the living world so the land goes wild and wheat and soybeans explode in productivity. Continue ringing hammers home that the real secret ingredient is the kitchen. Then promises these 3 pillars will power fresh new products, and they'll chase funding through the merchant guild. After everything they heard, the two just froze in pure shock. Neither of them could find a word. Mary Nervous stared at it, wondering, did this really work, and what does it even look like? The elf shoots back that she thought she'd finally gotten used to him. Yet somehow, he still manages to blow her mind. She snaps, then that's how it has to be. To prove she could do things her own way too. Noelle suddenly admits she's on Sophie's side too, after getting hit with that brutally disheartening reply. The boy realizes that getting down the road to a carnal relationship won't be quick. It's going to be a brutal, long grind. After she leaves, the elf spirals, thinking she just wrecked everything. Because she couldn't read Alan's thoughts as her leader, confusion swallowed her whole, and she couldn't answer right. And she finally clocks it. She's been giving the one person she owes everything to way more credit than they deserve. With tears streaming down her face, she's convinced she shattered his trust and totally let him down. But she can't help wondering, wouldn't it be okay to have a slave who can talk back and really express themselves? Right then, Noelle, her companion, closes in and calls out, and Sophie blurts that she loves his personality. She adds that he probably hates slavery too, and it actually makes perfect sense that his push to end hunger drives him. Noel gets it, she's fully in on the plan to save the girls and use restoration. And the curls they bought are exactly like back then, crammed with body problems, and their future snatched right out from under them. Then she says he isn't doing it for any reward at all. He's just acting purely out of kindness. Then the elf challenges him, why not aim higher? And Noel calmly cuts in, the girls they bought are just as lost about what's going on. With a heavy sigh, the girl admits it's all real, and says they've gotta come clean about this situation to them too. And in the end, everyone will finally see what Alan's made of: his kindness, his generosity, and that sharp intelligence. Because this mind knows one thing: if the boy isn't watched, those girls will end up pulling him in without him even noticing. Confused, Noelle yells for her friend Sylphie, only for Sylphie to brush it off and promise, "We'll tell everyone." A bit later, the elf girl lays it all out, spilling the truth about the pay problem and exactly how this will work for the slaves. One of the girls says these conditions are perfect for us, then asks, "So don't you want to go question the boss again?" Realizing her feelings make sense, the elf takes a deep breath, swallows the shock of everything that happened, and remembers Alan's restoration. So this is just how a master like him operates. She can't quite wrap her head around it until she sees his smile and instinctively apologizes, saying, "That's Alan and you'll want to get used to him fast." Then boom, another woman shoots her hand up and demands, "Can I call you Sylphie?" The elf nods, and suddenly the whole mood flips as the woman asks straight out if serving Master Alan means offering her body, and if that's what Sylphie really means. So someone asked about it, and the reply was basically, "Yep, those selfie comments, that's exactly what I mean." She thinks so. Yeah, this unease makes total sense. Elves are treated like the ultimate beauty. No, they don't just sit there pretending they don't feel proud about it. They're not trying to hand themselves over to every random stranger, but if those shields really mean what it sounds like, then an elf is already staring down something terrifying, and it won't stay limited to them either, because other races are going to struggle to understand it too. And yeah, for elves, this kind of confusion and emotional clash is almost normal. So one more slave leans in and asks her straight up if she has zero interest in women, and the elf snaps back that she doesn't think that's true. But sometimes she catches the protagonist staring at her body, and that rush hits so hard she feels it crossing straight over her legs. She says plain and simple that some things are just too unbelievable to swallow. But Alan isn't the type to hurt someone for no reason. She curses under her breath as an ancestral elf, then carefully pleads with everyone to admit they've been played and deceived. Hearing that, the other slave blurts out that, just by the way he looks, he has to be a genuinely kind person. The elfin leans in and asks Aura, everything okay? Laura grins, the woman nods and confirms it, and suddenly she's like, Alan Samya is seriously an intriguing guy. Now that we've heard everyone else's story, it's time to step into Aura's world, straight into her side of the truth. She steps out in that perfect new outfit and instantly feels unstoppable, like she's finally shining, while everyone around her assumes she's just a narcissist who worships herself, and that's exactly why. After she got dragged into captivity and endured brutal torment, her skin seared from the suffering, then they sold her off like a slave for carnal use, all while she was mercilessly humiliated. They discovered a deadly flaw in her heart, the thing that supposedly steers the core of magic. And in this world, that single crack is all it takes to drag her into slavery, where she's forced to watch her beauty and magic crumble, trapped in despair with nothing left but to wait for death. At that moment, she spots her master Alan and the ancestral elf staring back. Staring out the window, she's convinced Lord Alan has some seriously peculiar sensitivities. And honestly, only a rare kind of creature could pull that off. But Sylph told her, and you could tell it was true. He understands the sheer power of restoration better than anyone. Yalfid told them that's why I act clueless, because once everyone finally gets me, we're all going to be safe. Watching the hero, she can't shake the feeling that he's completely foolish. And that's only because her powers are fully restored. Boom, her market value shoots through the roof, and since he has ties to the Holy Spirit, this has to stay protected at any cost. She doesn't even know why all this is happening, but if the Lord really wants to heal a flaw in her heart, then it wouldn't be hard to hand over her body. Because as a race, elves carry themselves with dazzling dignity and a side of ruthless vanity. Every day, these women turn down any man who acts like he's just any other guy. And when one catches their eye, it ignites into pure blazing passion. Right then, it hits her. She remembers something crucial from way back when. She still remembers the Lord's gaze locking onto the parts of her body that drew the most attention. And that Sylphie's divine look would have been downright enchanting. And if this really is his game plan to make an elf like her fall for Lord Alan, then he's not just skilled. He's a battle-tested veteran, trained by experience in the warzone of love. Confident as ever, she knows she has to win this duel no matter the cost. And the very first move is the one she swore she'd do earlier this morning. But the second she arrives, she spots the protagonist lighting up, talking like crazy with Sylphie right there. And from Aura's POV, he couldn't contain himself. He was thrilled, buzzing with joy and soaking it all in. She blurts dear in a heartbeat. Then the protagonist swivels back stunned and can't help wondering if he actually heard her. Stunned, he can't stop wondering, did he seriously make her mad? He starts off by staring at her with pure intensity. And when she clocks it, she's completely thrown because she's just showing up in a stunning new outfit, yet he can't pull his attention away. Like Lord Alan doesn't even realize it at all. She's standing there right in front of him, somehow she's already there. And she's dead sure of it, this can't possibly be right. And just like that, the hero steps in, invites the player to move with him, or flips the whole thing into a reversal. Even though Sylph twisted him into becoming the village chief without a clue, the Curio still stands there with his head high, because that's what self-respect means to him. And it hits him hard when Aura called him dear, bragging like that wretch was just pouring fuel on the fire. The boy blurts out, hey, let's play reversey, because it's been way too long since we last did. He tells himself he has nothing to fear. He's calm, and after all, he's the village chief. If this were some corporate world, he'd be the CEO, and if anyone makes the wrong move, he's sure it won't stop him from ending them. For now, he's gotta move like he's walking on glass, because he's already busted his butt just to steal one glimpse of Aura's legs. He reaches out and admits he genuinely understands her power, then makes it crystal clear. Whoever wins gets to give the orders, and the loser has to obey. He finally gets it. This is the only way he can stare at all her curves, the very thing he's been fighting tooth and nail to avoid. When he lines it all up, he realizes this. Sylph is a stunning woman with elegant curves, but Aura is gorgeous too, and her figure is even more generous. As he studies her aura, he realizes her charm hits like an idol's spotlight, but her behavior feels way more like a curious noblewoman. Right as the hero's mind raced, the elf barged in and shouted for Lord Alan, who then decides to start it all. She asked if her board being that color meant she'd win in no time. Then she checkmated the hero instantly, and she demanded to know what it means when someone delivers checkmate, and yeah, what Shaggy's got to do with it. She fires back at Lord Alan, demanding to know if toppling the Jenga tower is his idea of a defeat. In Sheaji, the boy finally realizes the truth. He's been wiped out completely, and it's an absolute loss. He snaps his gaze onto her and blurts out, Aura's going way too hard, and I won't let my master win a damn thing. Watching the show or the comments, people gush that he's super charming, but when he flees in pure shock, the boys burst out shouting, Aura is so romantic. He told her to fight like it mattered, but now he's stuck wondering if he really wanted her to show mercy instead, because seeing him like this makes her think of a little frightened animal. With a grin on her face, she tells herself it was pure fun. Then reality hits hard, and right in that moment, someone calls her name. She earned Sylphus's approval. He said she did great and spoke her mind without holding back. After hearing this, Aura starts to wheel around. The elf's smug grin hits her like a slap because that meeting ended so violently and now she can't deny it, she's lost. Then a chilling thought lands. Was that boy's whole goal to look like he was being manipulated? With her fingers biting into her own skin, Aura realizes she can't argue back, which means he's got her wrapped around his finger, and he's starting to look terrifyingly brilliant. Sylphus jumps into the comments and tells her straight up, if R tries to get close with nothing but indifference, it'll never end with her getting burned. She keeps going, saying that because they're the same race, she finally gets what her heart is going through. Then asks why she's even supposed to know the answers in the first place. Smiling as she looks back, Seltha admits the first one to fall in love. No matter what, love always gets crushed. And the second she hears it, sweat bursts out all over her. Then she spots Noelle and Sylphus slipping away in total silence, and her mind spirals, Lord Alan's monstrosity and the elf Sylphus right by his side. She decides she's going to become just as brilliant as that woman. Confident as ever, she swears she'll actually take the other elves, warning to heart with everything she's got. And every new challenge only fires her up even more. Alan, the inventor of every fun toy on Earth, somehow got stuck as the ultimate punching bag and lost every single game he stepped into. The goddess says, if someone tried to tell your story, it'd come out looking exactly like this. Tears streaming down his face, the boy begs the goddess to stop the attacks right now. But the one in charge says, in the world of goddesses, this article is #1 on the list of who they never want to reincarnate as. She shifts the topic and says, that's what we were talking about, then pushes, you've got preventive measures already, right? But your answer shuts it down. He's got nothing but simulations, he just keeps rehearsing responses. After hearing the whispers about his very first order as village chief, he slammed down a ban. No slaves were allowed to play the games he'd invented. He even claims he cranked forced labor down to the absolute minimum. And it's not like he was out here trying to build some white-only company or anything. The goddess warns him, if the village's economy crumbles, he'll get to decide that he'll call the fate of everything. This guy claims it's the CEO and the village chief's job to push benefits for the workers. And somehow, he's so sharp that people swear he can get exactly what he wants. That brutal lift he had to endure didn't just hurt. It handed him a whole new brand of torment, because Sylph, Noel, and Aura kept pestering him non-stop, begging to face him in a match. And sure, it pretends to strengthen friendships, but in every game he still gets wrecked 50 times each round. He can't stop wondering if Self is mad, since they're going around telling everyone, reminding the villagers to drag him into the fun and invite him to play. Turned into a full-blown competition that had every resident fighting for the top spot. The gap between those slaves and himself kept shrinking, step by step, until it felt like it could snap shut any second. With a shared topic to sink their teeth into, the slaves keep closing the distance. And thanks to the strategy Sylph taught them, it hits with a total win. As an adult, he should honestly thank them and trust he wouldn't get mistreated if he were still a kid. Right now they're living a quiet, ordinary life, and yet it's still impossible to claim nobody feels uneasy. With a heavy, reflective stare, he remembers Sylphie's magic, an endless forest of trees, and realizes wind magic can level up into something bigger, tree magic. Basically, every elf was cherished by the wind and blessed by it, so they could command every plant as if it were their own. Meanwhile, the dwarves wield earth magic, siphon nutrients from fertilizer hidden in the soil, and then supercharge it with germination, growth, and pure fortification. Suddenly, his mind ignites with wild fantasies about the two main girls. On his knees, he realizes those slaves don't respect him at all anymore. Sylph then says, if you prep the soil the right way, you'll sip mana instead of guzzling it, and laughs that the fruits came out wonderfully. Nervous as a rabbit, the boy blurts out, please, let me handle the harvesting. But all the women insist it's pointless. They tell him to rest up instead. In the blink of an eye, they launch wind magic. Tears streak down his face as the hero finally grasps it. Every single one of them is absolutely incredible. And yeah, obviously, make it absolutely incredible. And honestly, they're straight up adorable. Frozen to the core, he stares at all those beautiful, adorable girls, and realizes there's no way he's choosing against them anytime soon. He refuses to go quiet, because he can't stomach letting everything end like this. So he slams his hand on the table and snaps that he still has that sleep card. He storms off and declares his reincarnation is only getting started. Alan blurts out what happened, and then demands answers. Why did he suddenly drag all three of them into the kitchen? The elf cracks a joke and says, if you're hungry, just tell her to whip something up. And the hero fires back, "No, I'm trying a brand new recipe." So he calls for him, then begs the others to back up his scheme. He wants to hypnotize them into being wildly drawn to his food so they can't survive without him. He marches up to the hero, saying she followed his order, and as she rapidly whips up potatoes with wind magic, he keeps moving. She thanks him, and then he asks what aura the girl used. The girl explains she mashed the beans with wind magic, and yeah, they're soybeans, not some mystery ingredient. But honestly, they just accept it anyway, no questions for the idiot. Horror slithers in and says it's insanely tasty, and the hero swears this is his modern-day knowledge. And now he feels that real electric thrill after reincarnating. Then Aura leans in and demands to know what magic the boy used, but Alan can't. He doesn't even know how to work magic. Right then, Or drops to apologize, and the boy, who forgives her instantly, shouts for his slave Noel. Dwarves are basically built for metal, masters of forging and shaping it, perfectly tuned to the earth element. And after a while, she jumps right back into the cooking. When she saw it, the protagonist froze in pure shock because what she was making looked brilliant. She whipped the dish up in an instant, and even the utensils, they were made by her. Sometime later, he tossed a few potato slices into 338 degrees F oil and dusted them with a pinch of salt to finish. The dish is finally ready, and he hands it to everyone with a grin. All right, it's time to eat French fries. All three girls freeze in total confusion because they've never laid eyes on this food before in their lives. Right then, Or he kicks into action and starts trying to follow the recipe. Apparently, she's absolutely loving it, and the hero's beaming because of her wild, spectacular reaction. Then she takes the fries, and Selfie blurts out that they're insanely good, so good she can't even speak, and he's sure these will sell like crazy. When he looks back, he spots Noelle the dwarf stealing a bite too, and she's loving the fries just as much. He rolls up his sleeves and declares, "All right, the main course starts now." So then you ask if he's talking about that tough, plain thing humans cram down anyway, and she says she wouldn't call it tasty, she'll still try it, and he nods along. The boy can't believe it. None of these people are baking with the same fermentation from his world, so he clenches his fists and decides to whip up real bread himself, using a secret ingredient he's got. The elf quizzes if he means great skin, and he shoots back, "Yeah," then tells you to toss it in a container with water and a pinch of sugar. He grins, celebrates dancing with the jars, and finally declares it's time to unveil the trick he's been holding back for ages. With pure determination, he fires up his restoration magic, then follows it with his dark decomposition magic. Right then, the hero's pretty sure his sharp readers already figured it out. When he said special ingredient, he meant yeast. First, they all go rigid with shock at the sheer power on display. Then Sophie blurts out, "Wait, so you can't use magic? That's what he said." Aura shoots back, "What even does that mean?" And inside his head, the boy starts to wonder if he messed up again this time. He blurts out, "I can't use real magic. This was my natural gift, restoration, just for a moment." The elf snaps back, saying he clearly dragged up dark magic. The boy nods, admitting that restoring is the kind of power he once etched into his mind. Then, right after he got reincarnated into this world, the goddess starts gaining even more details about his ability. The moment he sees her, irritation flares and he snaps, asking what she wants now. Then she tells him she reached out for a special dream, so he has nothing to fear, and right then she starts with a rushed apology before anything else. She says his restoration power is top tier, then warns that his limits forced this brutal, world-ending worst-case event to lock him into that harsh form. She compares it to a brand-new, revolutionary OS trapped in just 8 megabytes of RAM, so the goddess labels him 8 megabytes RAM, and the boy snaps back, asking if she can stop tearing him down with those icy words as she keeps talking. She tells him restoration has tons of uses, all fused right into the power they've handed him. By hearing the spell just once, he can etch it into his memory and later bring it back when he needs it, but his shaky recall ruins everything. He only gets one shot and the magic lasts a brutal 30 seconds. She also warns him that his body is too frail to do more, so he can only restore things that have a solid physical form. Once he's used it, he shoves the spell back into the register and can't touch it again because any bigger spell would crush him completely. With that sinking realization, the boy finally admits his own body is pretty much useless. Then the goddess sends him off, and as dawn starts creeping in, he's left behind. Right now, the boy tells her, "That's why I can pull off magic like this." And Sylph nods, saying, "I get it." But here's the real punchline. Why did he cling to this exact magic? And is it really meant to shred everything into decomposition? With a grin, he cuts in, saying, "Nope, that's not decomposition at all. It's fermentation, and that's exactly what you need to make real good bread." When the word fermentation finally lands on them, something they've never even heard of, confusion hits the three girls like a brick wall. He grins, convinced nothing beats the sight of those shocked faces, and then he spills the truth. Fermentation is just decomposition with a twist, and humans figured out how to harness it, unlocking a whole stack of incredible benefits. It explains that yeast gnaws through the sugar in the dough, blasting out carbon dioxide and alcohol. Then your bread rises into those soft, fluffy slices everyone loves. Sophie blurts that she had no clue about any of this. Noel leans in and calls it fascinating, and Aura fires back that he's got tons of knowledge, and he respects Noel a ton for it. The protagonist figures he must have been stressed, since his powers have hard limits. But this reincarnated life just won't let him fold now. He can't back down. They crowd around the jar, frozen in awe as the dark magic of decay crawls through their minds. Seeing that, the protagonist snaps into confusion, desperately trying to figure out what in the world is happening. Right now, all 3 jars are blazing with light. So tell me, if they glow like that, don't you think the 3 of them also crush dark magic? The girls press in and demand, so why did we all end up in the kitchen? When one of them thinks it's just hunger, the boy grins and says, nope, this is my chance to try something new. Before long, everyone's on the same page and they all figure out the perfect lure: food. One of the helpers slices the yams with magic right in front of everyone. She fired off her skill and shoved the soybeans down with force. They keep cooking, pouring the oil in like it's their secret weapon. Everyone is stunned by this rare ingredient, and the boy proves that his modern know-how is exactly what he needed. When someone asked what magic they used to get the liquid, they just shrugged and said the poor guy barely even lifted a finger. But when she sees him shaken, she blurts out an apology for the shameless question. Picking up right where we left off, gearing up for the next move. That tiny girl is the one who keeps the pot dwarves' metal and earth magic going, because the real showstopper is her sick mastery of fire. There the flames roar to life and burn even stronger. It shocks the guy. He spots the eye warming up fast inside the pot the dwarves brewed. Until that idiot finally feels how heavy being useless really is. He starts mapping out his next move for the dish, until he finally cracks it and pulls out a tray of perfect French fries. Everyone in the room freaks out, because this food is nothing like they expected. The flavor hits her like magic, so incredible it leaves her totally stunned. To the point where it hooked her so hard, she started craving that flavor like crazy. The other one just stands there completely stunned, because they can't even get a word out to explain it. So her plan is simple, she just starts selling. Now the cook holds her breath, waiting to see what the others do, because her face is giving off all kinds of hard-to-read signals. But it's obvious the third one dug it, so that leaves the real star of the show, the main dish: bread. One of them looks like it wants to spit out every bite of human food. Looks like those gluttons can't stand the dough. He realizes the bread in this world never goes through fermentation, and that single mistake makes it taste wrong, like it's missing something vital. He leaned over to his colleague and demanded grape skins be tossed into a glass of water and sugar. Then it's time to tear that up and shake it all together. Let's mix it. The clever one has been holding onto this trick the whole time. His destructive restoration magic is concentrated right there, ready to tear everything apart. Caught up in the moment, the sly one remembers the yeast extract. The way he wields magic totally floors them too, doesn't it? Then the chef starts to panic. Did he mess up anywhere else? But before long, he decides to step up and explain himself. His power isn't some mystical nonsense. It's his restoration ability, and the crazy part is he labels it black magic, when really it's nothing more than a technique stored inside his own brain. Just after he was reincarnated, the boy falls asleep, and out of nowhere, something eerie stirs and jolts him awake. A woman braces herself to spill a whole extra explanation of his power. As he grumbles that it's way past midnight, she leans in and drops the truth. This is all a dream. Before she even answers his question about this explanation, the entity cuts in and drops a sincere apology. He's got a reincarnated guy's gift, his restoration power, but there's a catch. His capacity is too limited, and that's what keeps it from being used non-stop. To the point where the poor guy gets compared to a computer with less than 8 gigabytes of RAM. It's like the guy's running on pure dial-up, 8 measly megabytes, and the idiot even tells her to stop using those words. She snaps back to the one thing she can't ignore: his ability. His comeback means everything, because the lucky guy will finally unlock a magic he only saw once, so long as he can shove it straight into his brain for keeps. Man, this poor guy is so done for that he can barely record it. He gets it in the bag just one time and it lasts only 30 seconds. And because his body is so fragile, it can only heal whatever keeps its physical form. So the weakling snaps to it. He can only store one magic, he can't tap into it again, and it has to be weak enough that his body won't get overwhelmed. Realizing it in seconds, Alan snaps to the truth. He's not just failing, he's straight up trash. She decides to bail because morning's almost here, but the young man refuses to let her go, insisting the goddess stay and field the rest of the questions. Back in the present, the dark-haired boy freezes, wondering why he keeps swallowing the deity's insults, and then he starts breaking down his spell. But the real mind-blower is this. Why does his power specifically turn spoiled stuff into brand new materials? As Sylphie talks, the protagonist blurts out, "It's not spoiled, it's fermented, and that's what you need to make bread." None of them have a clue what that's supposed to mean. He grins when he sees their shocked faces. So the boy seizes the moment and blurts it out. Fermentation is basically humans using a process of decay. Bread's fluffy, soft texture is made possible by yeast. This news hits like a shockwave for the three of them. Seeing them react like that, the boy can't help but grin. Joy surges through him. But even then, don't go bragging about being reincarnated, because someone's just spotted and is picking something up. The moment they sense it, all three start copying his mystical trick, one after another. He's absolutely stunned by what he's just realized. The trio is insanely deadly with tree, wind, and metal magic, but they don't just stop there. They've got dark spells in their back pocket too. That poor guy's hard-earned magic didn't last a second. Someone used it up like it was nothing. And yeah, you can't help but replay the goddess's verdicts in your mind. Then that rascal just keeps pressing Alan's torment, mocking him like it's sport. And to make it worse, that fool is completely bewitched by her beauty. Meanwhile, the entity grins like he just pulled off the perfect move. Then that idiot storms off again, and the chef gets left standing there. As the days roll on, the girls master the art of baking bread, perfect, every single time. So obsessed with the dough that it hooks them completely. Seeing them like this lights him up. He can't stop smiling. Before he reincarnated, the poor guy could only make Mizuki smile. But now the cook's skills have him turning crowds into grins. So this fool convinces himself everything would be better if he could just add a +18. Out of nowhere, two other teenagers show up out of the blue and rush over to him, asking if he's got anything to eat. Alan is gearing up to pull off a full-on bread festival. Sylphie clocks it instantly. Most of them love it because food is so scarce for them. Most people kept their hearts locked tight, but the protagonists help finally tore those walls down. Everyone started spilling their secrets one by one. It was his natural charm that somehow pulled everyone else along with him. Today's cooking isn't just for eating. It feeds one of the boys' 3 mental pillars, and these dishes are about to rake in serious cash. She remembers every step of the scholar's grind, how he pushed through, opened the door to new ideas, and showed her concepts she never even knew existed. Then the awkward one can't stop thinking the ally must be totally blind to those evaluation scrolls. She's convinced of one thing: everyone's ready to team up and march straight toward the cook's perfect dream. Meanwhile, Aura can't stop enjoying every last bite of that little bread. At first, she thought he was completely delusional for saying he planned to end world hunger. But when his knowledge hit, that revolutionary fire in him totally caught her off guard. Proud as a high elf, she decides then and there to step up, repay his kindness, and help him chase his goals. Now it's simple, she drops everything and goes all in on eating more bread. And yeah, right there, Noelle is loving this brand new flavor too. She thinks that everyone should guard these amazing flavors and never share them with anyone else. But Alan handed them out to everyone, because the altruist just wanted every single person to eat too. Lately, this introvert has been acting downright weird, because the second she spots the chef's smile, her heart starts pounding like crazy. She's convinced she'll never measure up to Sylphie's genius. Even so, that tiny girl refuses to slack. She wants to prove she's useful, make the reincarnated one beam with pride, and push herself harder every single day. But her biggest wish is simple: she wants headpats more than anything. When the thought finally struck them, one second he's minding his own business, and the next, some rascal crashes in and yanks the poor protagonist away in a kidnapping. He still remembered that day. Then the dark-haired kid brewed fermented bread using black magic. They fired up a bunch of games and he lost every single one. But the second he saw their smiles, pure happiness hit him. He grinned like every twist of fate was the best thing that could have happened. And he's got his sights set on making tomorrow even more epic. Tonight, someone slips into the house while he's sound asleep. That strange noise is charging closer to the bedroom, like it's about to burst in. Then that idiot actually thinks a +18 visit at midnight is a win, like he impressed them with the bread or something. We see the fool swagger to himself, convinced everyone's completely bewitched by his cooking. Stress and anxiety practically pour off him, loud and clear. Then the idiot just stands there doing nothing, and waits for his first time like it'll happen on its own. A creepy half-spider invader creeps closer, inch by terrifying inch. This terrifying monstrosity barrels into his mind, and he can't help but freeze in fear. Then the criminal demands silence, and suddenly spiderwebs snap out, slamming around him like a trap. Even with that creepy look, she's still stunning, and she tells him straight up she won't devour him. The ceiling suddenly cracks open, and she realizes they've got zero time left to talk, until she soon cradles her victim in her arms, and Alan gets completely spellbound. The spider bolts out of the house, straight up running for its life. Right after that, the rascal gets jumped out of nowhere, Then his three partners finally show up and save the day. She pauses mid-scheme, realizing her enemies aren't just random foes, they're two special elves and an elderly dwarf. Facing them, her odds are razor-thin. So the sly one just slips in a quick apology, and then fires off his webs. Then she rockets forward and leaps clean over all three, and her speed leaves everyone utterly stunned. Nightfall will give her the perfect edge to slip past her pursuers, and then the crazy one charges into the woods all at once. All this happens so fast, and he can only sit there, stunned, wondering how it all went down that quickly. A brutal fight was supposed to ignite by now, but instead he realizes they quietly left him hanging after pretending they wouldn't allow it. This crushes him because no one came to save him. He convinces himself he'll find a way out solo, but then his enemy's airbags slam in and suddenly soothe him right away. They charge straight for her lair. The cook gets slammed straight onto the ground. Soon he barges in and demands they let him out too. Trying to wriggle free from those webs is hopeless. As he braces himself, he realizes his opponent is an arachne, the deadly masters of weaving who don't just fight, they trap. They hauled him in to heal someone, but then a leak hit the streets. People spilled details about his terrifying abilities. Meanwhile, that girl looks like she's summoning someone with an urgent call. A voice suddenly blares out of nowhere, pulling her attention instantly. She rants because her companion has kidnapped someone. Another spider shrugs it off like, "Don't worry about a thing." And then Rhea, her name is Rhea, swoops in fast, immediately apologizing for her older sister's behavior. As they bicker, the idiot fumbles through the thought that at least they're two relatives with decent airbags. Then the back and forth keeps rolling, with everyone still calling him a total feast. Alan suddenly spots something out of the corner of his eye. The younger one looks badly hurt, like he took a brutal hit. Then the other guy shuts the discussion down and strides straight up to the dark-haired boy. She's stuck on one terrifying question. Can the kidnapped one actually save her little sister? The idiot swears he's totally fine with a Yandir girlfriend, but the truth still hits him like ice in his veins, and he can't ignore how his restoration ability factors into all this. But the fear gets shoved aside the moment he's helping them, because in that moment, it's his only shot. Before that, the researcher had plenty of questions, and his fear twisted into instant politeness. Even the spiders like, "Relax, there's no reason to put on all this formality. Let's cut to the chase. Those injuries aren't going to heal easily." That revelation hits them like a punch to the gut, surprise written all over their faces. So much so that the brave one straight up promises, if anyone dares to hurt his friends, he'll show zero mercy. Then the goddess kicks her mocking grin back into gear, tearing into his predicament all over again. But when they press her, Neck snaps the truth right out. She hasn't laid a hand on a single one of his companions. She stands by her word, because all she did was snatch him right out of the world and call it a promise. He still can't shake the nagging doubt about whether his adversary can be trusted at all, until the woman swears on her family. Hearing it leaves him sinking deeper into thought, just so the entity could pop in and make his life even more miserable. Before he even starts, he demands they swear a spirit oath so they can negotiate, but one person shuts him down and denies it. Turns out the older one is terrified the three are about to strike like, "They'll come for us, and once they do, we won't have a way to fight back." That's not acceptable for the girl, no way. She clocks it instantly. The protagonist is grinning like it came from nowhere. After thinking it through, the cook finally realizes his whole assumption was dead wrong. He can't stop thinking, they probably ditched me and left me behind. After all, his allies were insanely powerful. They figured kidnapping him wasn't gonna happen anyway, so they didn't bother to really help him at all. The poor guy really thinks they just came up with this plan to wipe out a nuisance like him. Stuck in an ice sky, the unlucky one can't help but think, yeah, he should be getting the lucky treatment. Since he couldn't play the hero, he decided to go all in on kindness, and he was hellbent on getting her to accept his terms. Right when Neck takes care of Rhea, our boy is locked in too. He's got important people to protect, and he's begging that Spider to back off and not attack them, or else the healing just won't take place. Sylphie races to find him, and then it hits her. Her job was to protect him, and she failed. They decide to run straight to the elves for help, because the kidnapper has vanished into the forest. And then the three spot the shine on her leg, and that's the moment they realize the kidnapper is no ordinary thug, but a commander in the Demon Lord of Lust's ranks. 7 demonic entities rule over the sins itself, and even bow to them as servants. But they're furious because they got wiped out so easily. As she stares at what she can do, a chilling truth clicks. Out there in the dark, the opponent will crush them. But there's a plan brewing to fix all of this. A bloodsucker seed suddenly bursts into view, catching one of them completely off guard. You can use it to zero in on where sounds are coming from, and exactly where things are hiding. Alan speaks to the spiders with pure respectful politeness, to the point that everyone's like, why is he being this polite? Something's off. They hear his oath mess with his family and he'll show zero mercy. Hearing those fearless words, every girl's heart jolts, because the cook has basically stashed them above his own safety. The magic crystal gets squeezed for all it's worth, right on the spot. They split into teams right away and kick off the rescue mission. And they're dead set on dragging him back home, no matter what it takes. Meanwhile, the boy can't stop thinking, what if everything goes wrong, will anyone save me? And the goddess, of course, gives him zero hints. He tried to talk his way out of it, but the whole negotiation crashed and burned. Those legs look straight up human. She freezes in shock when she realizes she's seeing her separate self. Then the fool just keeps getting bewitched by that arachnid. So the rascal remembers this. If her sister gets healed, she'll let that guy do whatever he wants. When she uses her own body to strike a deal, Alan freezes in pure shock, so overwhelmed that he can't even remember why he came in the first place. So intense it leaves him ripped in two, half ready to accept, half desperate to refuse. But then his memory kicks in, sparks flying as it helps him think. Mizuki's memories crash back, and suddenly he remembers the time that girl snubbed him for hunting down computer stores. She wouldn't let up, she demanded he fork over money for her, not wasted on equipment. Back then, the way he splurged like crazy made the girl scramble for work too, because it all started with pure lust. And remembering it steadied his breathing, sharpening his focus until he could think clearly. First off, safety comes first, but right now the chef's still okay. Second place or not, he puts his allies' safety first, and for the moment things feel calm. Then Rhea stuffs leaves into his nostrils. But the real problem is this creepy arachnid. It looks like it's absolutely disgusted by what's happening, until the kidnapper suddenly feels something is off. So hard that she decides to step back for now. Then the two of them snap to it and start hauling out of there. Right there, the kidnapped victim spots something fast. Then, right in the heart of the forest, a magical barrier snaps into place around them. The longer he stares, the more it throws him off over and over again, because every single one of his allies rushed in to pull him out. One of them locks eyes with him next, and then drops a heartfelt apology for the delay before he finally shows up. The magic finally ripped him free from those webs, and thanks to the time he bought, they slammed together a barrier. Hearing that totally shocks him. Then he leans in, stares closer, and boom! He realizes every elf has slipped into the room and gathered there. Right at this moment, Sylphie grabs the protagonist's attention like a punch to the chest. To thank the boy for handing her his trust. She figured the poor guy was faking innocence just to buy himself time. Out of nowhere, the sisters burst back in and square up to confront them. Right then, the group leader spots it. Their opponents have totally quit trying to run. Every single one of them is locked in a face-to-face standoff right there, staring each other down. Seeing this chaos, Alan feels utterly stranded, not knowing what move to make next. All that's left for the idiot is to bluff his way through it, and claim this whole mess was planned from the start. Every person in the room blinks in shock at what they just heard. The whole place suddenly feels like it's closing in on them. Still, courage lights up fast, and before long the kidnapper can't ignore his virtues. That enemy's reaction shocks everyone, and his allies immediately start praising his sharp insight. Yeah, those compliments lit a fire under him and sent his excitement through the roof. The idiot's mind starts spinning wild fantasies, and for a split second, sheer relief floods him, like he's grateful he got saved. Sure, they could have ditched him, but the fact that he got saved lit a fire in his chest and made him believe he can do anything. The crew comes together with full confidence, because everything just shifted in their favor. So they're able to talk it out on equal ground, and the kid walks in with real confidence. This finally gets the arachnid to team up the best she possibly can. One of her rules is brutal. He never, ever touches Rhea with his hands. He sticks to the same deal. Keep his allies safe, and in return, he'll heal the kidnapper's younger sister. Now they're left staring in silence, lost in deep thought. Overall, the sisters keep getting the better end of the deal, and the negotiator refuses to let himself get played. So she starts to fear that her own body could end up as part of the negotiation. But the protagonist's three companions shut that down instantly. This whole mess leaves the cook stunned, not knowing a single thing to suggest next. Until his mind snaps back to the moment he remembers they can use their web abilities. Then he starts craving a steady little supply of those arachnes threads, again and again. This question totally rattles them, and you can see it on their faces. Seeing their reaction, Alan's cheeks instantly flare red with an embarrassing blush. Then his allies start hounding him for answers. And with that, the poor guy finally sees the truth. Everyone's kindness was never forever, and it's officially over. Everyone corners him, demanding to know why he wants this, right after he offers healing for his younger sister. Sylphie's mind starts racing, replaying every detail of what's happening, because she's betting that if her master shows interest, she won't end up crushed by disappointment. The way he'd rather connect with Iraqis than an elf scares the life out of her. To her, the idea sounded totally ridiculous, like he'd lost his mind for even suggesting it, to the point where pure frustration starts boiling inside her. Meanwhile, Noelle starts to stare in awe at the protagonist's unreal abilities. But after hearing what he asked for, insecurity instantly crawls into her chest. And it crushes her, leaving her heart heavy with sadness. Even Aura looks totally thrown off by all of this. She's fighting hard not to act the same way as her other friends. And the noble can't help but wonder if it's just another one of the cook's slick little tricks. Then the maiden snaps to it. She's convinced the boy didn't even grasp the problem behind his question. Alan's still stuck in confusion, like he can't figure out what's happening. The moment he asked, the arachnids turned betrayed and suddenly felt totally awkward. Now the dark-haired boy lanes in and fires a question at his colleague. So what's going on? He learns that when he asks for the threads of an arachne, it doesn't mean what he thinks it means. It's like proposing marriage. So yeah, when the chef hears that, it totally explains why everyone's freaking out. And they obviously refuse because they've only just met. Then the goddess starts needling him all over again, asking if the crazy guy wants anything else. Maybe a temple machine, like for real. A few weeks slid by, and suddenly the younger sister shows up, handing the healer those threads like she's carrying the next clue. The moment he spots her, the boy blurts out a thank you right away. Turns out the wound healed up perfectly. But when it was all said and done, he still lost his magical eye ability. Then the entity strikes back with another cruel tease, taunting him that the useless one could have stopped all of this, if only he wasn't so weak. Back then, that hill was owned by the Spider Sisters, so they dispatched a tiny spider to sniff out that weird sound. A tiny creature watched Alan channel his restoration power. That's when neck snapped. She decided to kidnap him so her familiar could get the help it needed. Now there's a sacred contract. If neither side brings harm, Iraq's knees won't resort to force. Another clause details how Ra's injuries get healed and how top-tier threads are delivered. And then he makes sure the tiny spiders get fed, the hardworking little workers who keep everything running. That chef's locked in on keeping this deal going as long as he can, because the moment someone finally calls him out, everything changes. Noelle leaned in and asked, "Is the delivery here yet?" Then the tiny one tosses in even more food for those creatures. They can't look away as she pulls it off. The dwarf shoves fries into the hands of his little servants. At first, the elves resisted hard, but the dwarves never could resist spiders, because they're irresistibly adorable and their eyes shine like tiny jewels. He praises the little one for catching that instantly, then turns to his new ally, because now he's got a burning question. She needs to know if his boss is feeling better now. It turns out the young woman was talking about Sylphie. They rush to clear up the misunderstanding about the proposal. But the good news is, it's all settled and crystal clear now. Because the desperate one made a big show of saying he had no ulterior motives. Even so, his partner looks absolutely wrecked with stress over it, until it got so locked in on business that nothing else mattered. Then we realize her goal is simple. Break free of the merchant guild, yet he can't stop thinking what freaked her out so badly. Because she's convinced that if she doesn't push herself, she'll lose her chance to stay right beside him. Then Alan's mind snaps into place. He realizes his companion plans to rake in cash and ditch him the moment it's all theirs. This is pure desperation. He can't stand the thought of being left behind. Then all of it starts grinding on his nerves, until his other friend calls him. Right on cue, the prototype of the item he ordered is finally ready. He's decided to surprise Sylphie with that very item. In his head, it's the perfect ending. Every single person walks away a winner. The girls clock it instantly. The boy is practically buzzing with excitement. We watch the guy's neck jerk like, yep, this protagonist is the real deal, because everyone can tell he's an interesting boy. He may be weak, but our boy's got a mind that pulls her in. And the funny one goes even farther, suggesting they break their delivery deal just so he can marry her. And that fearless confidence of the protagonist can smash right through the barrier between races, too. Her sister was into the MC too, and the Arachne can't shake the feeling this whole act was cooked up by the rogue, until someone catches her about why she's in such a good mood. She tells Kyubai she hasn't changed a bit. Then we run straight into a fox who's itching to hear every single detail of what happened. The arachnid leans in and tells you she stumbled on the most interesting man she's ever seen. When she looks back, she finally remembers there was an open spot waiting for her. Because the Demon Lord's throne is still wide open, no one's taken it yet. The furry can't help but get curious about this charming young man they just found. And just like that, boom, he's revealed to be human. It hits her hard. She realizes she hasn't been close to a human in ages. Turns out the Demon Lord isn't picked by fate, people recommend candidates, and the whole system runs on twisted satisfaction. Then we learn the real troublemaker, the demon entity of lust. And now she's stepping in herself to test the protagonist face to face. Sylphie clocks the pattern. Ever since he bought her, she keeps getting hit with bigger surprises, and that's exactly why the protagonist feels like a mystery. Still, this idiot has zero clue how to handle women. Then the fool proves it. He grabs a piece cleanly, never bumps the tower, and doesn't even need wind magic. Seeing his reaction sends her spiraling deeper. She's completely bewitched. Even though most elves are trapped in chains, none of them hate him, and they're stunned by how kind he treats them. She keeps replaying everything he did in her head, over and over, and ends by making it crystal clear the kid never exploited them or tried to monopolize them. Even after he struck it rich, he never tightened his grip. He let them stand on their own and poured out his wisdom. The clever one pulled it off with a string of games. Their gaming totally pushed the servants to start acting and talking back, because that boy never once planned to beat them. He's pushing them to see if they can run on their own, watching how they move and act when he's not giving a single order. So the elf pauses and asks himself one brutal question. Does he always wreck his own life, or does he do it on purpose? Lately, the dark-haired one went even further. He opened bank accounts for every servant and handed the ear-headed one the job of running the village's money. She can barely contain it. This trust makes her ridiculously happy. Then the cook shoots her a quick call, asking if they can quintuple the workers' payment. This question left her utterly stunned. Her reaction hits him like an awkward punch, and it almost makes him want to double or even triple down. It's not impossible at all, because they're selling mountains of food, and that surge in sales just skyrocketed their revenue. And the chef still insists on taking it out of his account, so she can cover the crafting costs for everyone. She's so stunned by what he's planning that it almost knocks the breath out of her. Even on the day they snatched her, he stood there like stone. No fear ever dared to show on his face. That year, he rolled up his sleeves and bargained until he solved the mess with the arachnids. Even after that messy misunderstanding, where the marriage proposal hit by pure mistake. She also clocks one thing: he never once throws blame at them for the kidnapping. In fact, he still splits the profits with everyone. Still, the elf isn't satisfied. She wants to help him even more than this. He's got the power to rise as king, but she's terrified she won't be able to keep pace with him, until she smacks herself hard enough to snap back into her senses, and then dial it up even more, zeroing in on everything she's doing. And before long, the manager starts scrambling for the best ways to help him out. Now the protagonist locks in, ready to do whatever it takes, and the dwarf snaps into action and heads off to work. She swings the doors wide and kicks off the services. Her workshop is absolutely mind-blowing. Every bit of it was crafted to twist those spider threads into usable fabric. Because his plan is to make the clothes there, since it boosts the charm of the women tenfold. And the plan is simple: use aura as the template, because the clothes make beauty pop even harder. Back then, the rogue couldn't stop staring at women's clothes, and now he's stuck on one burning question. Will that same fabric hold up for underwear too? There, the rascal glances at his other partners and watches everything unfold right before him. Everyone there stops and admits it. Work like this is straight up impressive. He locks eyes on them the second it happens. That's what throws them into full-blown embarrassment. Then they turn to the kids and thank them for jumping in to help. Then the two stare in awe because the work is getting done flawlessly. And it's all thanks to Noelle's insane skills. Then Ra digs in even harder, fueled by pure determination to pull in even more threads. Alan ships the plan and promises everyone will thank him for it. Feeling proud, he finally talked Sylphie into the business expansion, only for the idiot to think the manager is calling him worthless. The cook thinks he's stealing all the credit from the workers, and that fear of being exposed gnaws at him nonstop. Because his worst fear is simple: once they're free, every single one of them will turn on him and rebel. That's why he set up accounts for his servants and handed the whole mess to Sylphie to run. That ramped up her power, and the naive girl couldn't stop worrying that this would all end in disaster. Then the arachne spun even more webs. Noelle braces herself and gears up for her very first test. We watch the protagonist start putting the gear through its paces, one fierce test at a time. But the second they start weaving, the weird guy snaps back and remembers he's got to make everything plus 18. Then the fabric gets washed, wrung out, dried, and finally finished, stretched to the exact width it needs. This process spins a stunning fabric into existence, so breathtaking that everyone's left wide-eyed and stunned. Now the goal is to turn that idea into real clothing, but the reincarnated kid is still stuck in that "how am I gonna do this" mode. And Ross tells her she can do it, and you can practically see the excitement blazing in her as she's ready to dive in. Just like clockwork, the goddess shows up out of nowhere, then absolutely wrecks the mood on purpose. You see it right away. This young woman can whip up any kind of clothing like it's nothing. Then bam, the administrator storms back from nowhere. Or the moment he shows up, he greets her right then and there. He pulled her close and steered her toward where she needed to go. There, she grabs the big-eared girl and hustles her straight to their master. The shy one snaps back and tells everyone, "I'm back." And the moment she steps in, the researcher greets her with open, warm arms. Because the clever one whipped up a gorgeous dress for her as a gift, right to honor all the hard work she'd put in. The moment he does it, the gesture visibly shakes her to the core. Her hard work finally got noticed, and it lit up her whole heart with pure joy. Her joy is so intense it practically makes her want to leap straight up. And now he's begging to see her in that dress, right now. So the manager snatches her new gift and tries it on right away. That dress is absolutely stunning. So delicate and perfect, it's basically guaranteed to steal the spotlight in the capital. Alan's eyes light up. He swears it looks absolutely amazing on her. And on top of that, the design is downright gorgeous. Until the elf finally realizes the rogue's been staring at her leg. And that look hit her right in the face. She'd been waiting ages to catch him staring at her like that. That reaction makes her think, okay, I need outfits that flaunt my legs. Because the naughty one clocks that her master can't resist her legs. Neck snaps in out of nowhere and slams his way into the moment. The kidnapper showed up to haul her sister away, and then boom, rebel memories hit. She doesn't need her there at all. And before she can blink, the mischievous one goes, I want to chat with Sylphie. And that single comment knocks her off guard instantly. Meanwhile, the girls all burst into chatter, swooning that the elf actually loved the gift. Before long, he clocks it. She's in that dress, and the damage she could do is terrifyingly huge. He plotted to earn the enslaved people's gratitude, so once they got their freedom, they wouldn't leave him behind. Even though it stung his pride, he couldn't help but grin. He finally got the courage to ask for Ra's dress. The goddess leans in and says he served her faithfully, and then admits one of his powers is taking measurements of women's bodies. Her silence slams into his chest and leaves him wildly anxious. Then bam, the entity vanishes out of nowhere, and suddenly he's left there arguing with his own thoughts. After a heated back and forth, the girls finally wrap up their discussion and lock in their decision. Alan gets one brutal rule: he can never, ever leave their base again. So yeah, this poor guy's stuck under house arrest, and the Regent of the Universe keeps toying with him like it's hilarious. Seconds before the imprisonment announcement, Sylphie leans in, frowning hard, and demands to know why this conversation is happening at all. She makes it crystal clear, she just wants peace and a smooth life with everyone. Looks like the ear girl's master might just get picked to become the next demon lord. She remembers that next she'll have one of those beings, and she prayed it would finally lead her to the truth. She just never expected it would be this way. So the girl pushes back and demands a crystal clear explanation of exactly what this means. And the sly one rises, slips over to her, and closes the distance. Because the troublemaker was obsessed with her dress. The fabric felt impossibly soft, shimmered with a dazzling shine, and it totally captivated her. Because she's desperate to put Alan's knowledge and the dwarf's skills to work where they can make a real difference. But yeah, this trickster always has a catch, and he'll demand something back. He wants to trade for the arachnid's territory by offering up a spiritual contract. And on top of that, she lets her mischievous creatures take turns keeping an eye on the cook. And the moment Sylphie hears this, her eyes light up. This idea grabs her hard. At first, they thought they'd blanket the whole area with a wind magic barrier. But the moment they ran the numbers, it became clear a different method was way more efficient. Everything about it feels way too perfect, like the universe is setting him up for a fall. Then Nex suddenly remembers, this won't be only demons hunting the boy. And yeah, when the wise man shows up, the hero and the sword saint will roll in too. And honestly, no one walks away unhurt from a direct clash. So the strategist wants to borrow his power, because her sister is still painfully naive. So the elf realizes the arachnid has been pulling all this off just to shield her own family. Then the manager suddenly remembers, her companion always clocked this the moment it happened. She tells the representative, I'll go straight to my boss. But the truth is, whatever happens, his call decides everything. No matter what he chooses, that kid has to stop storming outside like a reckless fool. He's about to become a walking beacon. Demons, adventurers, and guards will all hunt him down. So she's about to spill it to everyone, and before long she'll straight up tell the boy. Even though house arrest is a total nightmare, it's a necessary evil they have to live with. Right back in the present, he freezes, plainly stunned by what he just saw. Every single one of them instantly nods and agrees. And there's one brutal catch: he won't get out unless they give him their permission. Then Alan can't shake this gut feeling that the boy-s about to start stitching up some seriously perverted clothes. Then Sylphie blurts out that the protagonist is dangling over death, in real, life-threatening danger. And this idiot actually thinks it's because he's a pervert. Neck reveals that the demon lord of lust has set his sights on him. After he finally got the whole situation clear in his head, the MC realizes something terrifying. Demonic entities aren't just lurking, they're watching his restoration like it's their next move. Now he's sitting there, utterly baffled. Why didn't he sign a spiritual contract to keep his power hidden? But here's the truth, his power is basically a cheat, and when the fighting starts, he's completely outmatched. So if a hero can wipe him out that easily, it hits him like a nightmare. He gets slammed with pure stress over all of it. But the thought of being chased by a nine-tailed fox, That's exactly what he craves. As he wrestles with what it means to be human, the fool finally snaps into focus. He's got no reason to hate his own kind. Turns out a demon doesn't have to flip and hate humanity. Like that fox, it runs brothels and stands between women and evil, stopping crimes before they happen. He finally starts to get it, but fear still claws at him. Yet he can't stop himself from wanting to know how he's going to be recommended. His biggest sin, sloth, pure, unforgiving laziness. Yeah, sure, this is where the weakest demon lord is supposed to stand. But he's about to become the very first human to ever earn that title. By taking in this power, he unlocks a brand new ability no one else has. When the poor guy finally hears the details, his stomach drops, because he realizes this is nothing good at all. His power lets him supercharge his subordinates once he's familiar with them, but here's the catch. It doesn't work on him at all. So the poor guy starts to realize, becoming this weak little entity is a terrible idea. Until someone finally steps in and asks, so does that really suit you? And there she is again. The goddess shows up just to sneer at the truth that he's only standing because his enslaved people prop him up. Seeing her drives him into a deeper rage. He's so fed up that he starts hurling pillows and grumbling that everyone keeps backing away from him. Then they push the boy to answer, will he accept the proposal or refuse it? But the truth is, he wants nothing to do with that. All he wants is to keep living the good life, no matter what it takes. Plus, if he turned into one of those beings, he'd still have to stay tied to society. So his biggest question was what that would even mean. Then the creator of everything locks onto the feeling that something's slipping through his mind. The cook jolts, totally thrown off by the question. But there's no single clear answer, just a mess of maybes. Until bam, an idea suddenly pops out of thin air. First, the plan is straight up building a massive resort. Shopping malls, hotels, shops, services, restaurants, and every kind of entertainment you can imagine. Turns out it all landed on him. He had to run everything, and the poor guy felt like everyone's happiness depended on his hands. Then the blonde nods, agreeing that the boy never had the capability to do it. He just wants to break free from reality and finally catch his breath. Because all he really wants is a calm, easy life. No drama, no struggle. If he gets that title, his servants will have to work themselves to the bone, and he refuses to let them get crushed by it. Because living grounded and real is the real win. He figures he's got nothing to lose, so he drops those ideas on them right away. In the end, the deity spits on him as a parasite, someone who'll never run a thing. When he thinks about his sister, he can already feel his family going too, and this troublemaker decides to toss the idea out at dinner, laughing like it's just a joke. Then the unbearable thing finally vanishes, and he's off to chow down. Everyone's left stunned by his proposal. Still, seeing him like this, it's obvious the fool can't hide his real feelings in the end. Just so one of them can get hooked, Sylphie jumps in with a plan and offers to help them bring the idea to life. That's a brilliant idea from the manager. Noelle also sees it as the perfect chance. The two start grilling each other with a storm of questions about how all these businesses are going to run. Even Aura can't help but back this initiative, because she's determined to bring beauty to every woman in the world. These reactions blow him away, especially that noble's idea, because it sends the pervert completely out of his mind. They can't forget it. Soon, the demon lord of lust will come to them in person, and the elf starts replaying every last preparation she made for her arrival. So the plan is simple. Roll out the red carpet for the fox and win her over to Alan's ideas. The two sisters throw their support behind the initiative without hesitation. It's obvious the three of them are fully into this strategy. All right, work time, let's move. Until the poor souls finally realize the idiot has dropped dead weight mid-perversion, right there on his feet. We watch the dwarf jerk awake with the morning light blazing through his room. She darts over and quickly feeds the vigilant spider. The worker pauses and starts replaying every single task from the day in their head, one by one. Then the girl finally slips into the chef's clothes, but only after her shift ends. So yeah, everyone remembers the first gift went to Sylphie, and it happened because she earned it through pure hard work. When Alan talked about freeing the slaves, he made it clear, real dreams can't be forced or pressured into existence. Then it finally clicks for them that this was his real goal all along. Even after they finally break free, he still can't stop. He keeps handing over his powers to the enslaved who still need saving. Because they've lived through it firsthand, they've got no choice now, just trust him and dive in. One short dwarf points out that the manager always nails her master's intentions, so she's basically incredible, and the other dwarves all get along with him without a single problem. So yeah, if you churn out the best results, you get rewarded, and that's exactly what lights a fire under her to give it her all. Because he saved her, her only wish is to cook up his happiness and see him smile. Then she flashes a clever thought. He always keeps glancing at her colleague's legs, so now she wants him to stare right at hers too. We watch our protagonist step in as the administrator, taking charge like he owns the place. The boy glances around and realizes work has basically nothing for him to do. While the crazy one spirals over it, Sylphie steps in and tells him to start growing fresh plants, so he has something new to focus on and enjoy. She flashes an encyclopedia in front of the poor guy, and he just freezes, realizing he still can't read the words of this world. Still, the fool gets totally spellbound by everything he lays his eyes on, until the elf finally spots the discouragement buried in him. Listen, there's no rice there, so all that's left is to roll up your sleeves and grow sugarcane. They wield earth magic to tear through the fields faster, and one servant snaps, telling him to get inside because he's wasting time. Then the useless one suddenly decides to jump in and help with the clothes. He realizes that loom mechanism is insanely complex and way ahead of its time, so he decides he's got to pitch in, making sure his employees don't go hungry and don't lack clothes. Ra hits the ground running early in the morning, working like there's no tomorrow. The maniac leans in and starts grilling her about every piece of clothing they're going to make. Then the researcher hustles over and flashes the designs he's been cooking up. Watching him put his servants first, the arachnid decides to step in. Then two of his loyal helpers get stunning new garments in no time. Another guy rocks a gorgeous sweater, and it absolutely blows his mind. Then one of the workers panics and thinks they'll dock it from her salary, so Alan steps in fast and makes it crystal clear. This is a gift, and not a single penny will be taken from them. So this young woman gladly takes it. No hesitation, just pure acceptance. Ellie thanks him again, then promises him, "Don't worry, I'll be right in your care." Last time the village chief got crushed, but today's his comeback, and his plan is to unleash a so-called perverted lucky moment. He shoots his move right away, slides the piece on the board game like he's got a plan, and the goddess keeps underestimating him. Yet nothing rattles his resolve. So she swallows her pride, admits she's beaten and waits, right on the edge for his command. This instantly lifts his mood, because his whole wish is to see her legs. She blushes and blurts to her friends, "What if something goes wrong?" And both of them immediately swear nothing could. He tries to blurt out his wish, then bam, someone cuts him off mid-sentence. Noelle suddenly barges in, appearing out of nowhere just to start talking. Then the cook spots in a flash that she's wearing her brand new clothes. Once her work was done, she threw on her best outfit, and oh boy, she looked perfect in it. Then Alan leans in and asks his buddy, "You need anything?" A dwarf goes and whips up a cotton swab right before our eyes. So he orders Ellie to clean his ears. She spots it right away, her master, been stacking up a mountain of wax. Then it hits him, his joy from winning didn't just feel good, it totally stole his focus. He starts wondering how Mizuki would react if she was trapped in this world with him. He's way too close, and embarrassment hits hard, because he's dying to see what she's wearing. Someone outside shouts Sylphie's name. We watch the protagonist lean in and ask, "Can I harvest the sugar cane so I can cook?" She nods right away and shoots back, "So what are we making?" It's bread, a sweet little treat meant to tempt the demon lord of desire. Then the young man keeps spiraling, stuck in deep thought. He clocks that his assistant has been rocking her brand new stockings non-stop. That's why he feels nothing but grateful, because they fit her perfectly. We find out the two biggest stores in the capital were built by an elf and an aura, two powerhouses who basically own the entire cosmetics market there. And thanks to the Iraqi sisters teaming up, more clothing finally hit the market, because the district QB runs is buying up tons of pieces. Meanwhile, he finally clocks it. He's been falling behind this whole time. They spotted all the ingredients lined up and ready right there. He tells you it's all for making warabi mochi. That day, the whole crowd gaped at the bread like it was pure miracle food, and his wind magic let him see what no one thought he could. So yeah, his whole plan is just to pull the exact same move right now. This dish is drenched in magic, and they'll need your help to pull it off. The wind spell is going to crush that sweet potato flat. And that's not even the best part. Centrifugation gets smoother, sugarcane juice gets pulled out cleaner, and with water magic in their hands, they'll squeeze out even more refined sugar than before. While molasses clings to everything, the goddess keeps poking him with cruel little teases, until the cook finally snaps into action and starts cooking. Nobody even bothers to keep track of every single step in the process. Meanwhile, they fire up the roasting pans for soybeans and grind everything down to powder. And the mochi is finally all set, just begging for them to take a bite. At first, Aura squints at the dessert like something's off. But the moment she takes a bite, her face lights up with pure delight. But her excitement lights up the whole scene. And he doesn't blink, his eyes lock onto every move. He's blindsided immediately. Everyone couldn't stop raving about the new sweet. He couldn't stop smiling seeing their reactions. And it hits him like a wave, he's almost lost in it, completely mesmerized. Even the dwarf couldn't help but gush about the mochi. She jumps into it, talking non-stop about the new clothes they're cooking up. When he asks which length is better, she flashes her legs with a small cut. Then he's completely spellbound, and she jokes that they should add slits to the dresses just like the one Sylphie wears. QB jolts hard, snapping his head toward the sudden noise. She and Necker get jumped by a stranger who comes straight up to them. An elf burst into view, drowning in pure distress. When Alan vanished from their village, everyone jolted, because this news stunned both of them. Even trapped under house arrest, they still caught him. And the deity demands to know how many times he'll keep falling for the exact same trap. In this state, it's like his soul shuts off. No feelings, no idea what's going on around him. And the goddess keeps taunting him. After the second kidnapping, he's still stuck living this nightmare. He has absolutely no clue where he's ended up. Something out there snapped his focus instantly, like it was calling him by name. Because he finally tears himself out of the darkness. His boots hit the forest floor with a sharp thud. Or something is blocking his path right in front of him. A horned woman drops to her knees and apologizes, saying this was the only way she could possibly get to see him. Then he jolts in shock as he spots someone dressed in a kimono. Her name is Kyo, and she has to rip her village out of an unknown disease, no matter what it takes. Then he spots it, she's in trouble, and she needs him right now. She tells him to do whatever it takes to help her. He's totally blindsided by that proposal. He forces himself to calm down so he won't get derailed, and with his mouth gagged, all he can manage are these muffled little grunts. Right as she closes in, the woman whips the cloth away. The god jeers at him again, like it's savoring every second. Her stomach aches from laughing so hard, until someone reaches out and touches her. She clocks the moment and realizes it's break time. But because it was just too funny, she decided to grab only the short one. She shoves the others out, then promises she'll spill the whole story later, because they're gonna meet again in his dreams. Just to push her into calling him flirtatious. They bicker back and forth, and then finally, she storms out for good. Then the horned woman leans in and asks if he's finally feeling better, and he nods, confirming he's okay. He's determined to dig up every single detail and get the full story. Now the girl takes a deep breath and gets ready to drop her 3 sizes. And the boy's like, wait, what? She felt someone staring at her legs, and then boom, he realizes he's been caught off guard. Because her mystical eye could peer straight through him. They're sitting in the Yamato village right now, a place where the Onus live, breathing and waiting. That first word hits him like a punch, and he can't believe what he's hearing. Burning at full speed, this place is still a brutal 3-day trek from his home. In other words, time doesn't march the same way out here. It crawls and bends in the shadows. And he realizes the Kwabai already paid him a visit. He's terrified the thing has wrecked his home, so panic explodes in his chest. He can't stop panicking. He's terrified his companions are hurt and trapped back in slavery again. And his only wish is that they all keep smiling, right to the very end. And yeah, that poor guy suddenly remembers something else too. He slipped right past the wind magic security system and the spider detection like it was nothing. The real question gnawing at him is whether they'd really find it easy to kidnap him. The town's security was shockingly solid, and the horned girl herself even admits it. So the dark-haired boy snaps, asking how the kidnapper slipped past those deadly barriers. She freezes up, awkwardly struggling to answer him. Turns out her whole species is built for vanishing in plain sight, but that time their system had a crack. That problem was Alan. He was passed out, sleeping like nothing could ever touch him. Her village is in ruins, and she knows a simple verbal promise won't save a thing. Her suggestion lands like a spiritual contract, and the cook realizes the Oni is ready to burn it all to protect her people. Yeah, the protagonist can help her. He just knows the boy won't get a choice, because her desperation is begging him to do it. Worried sick about his own home, he still steps up to help her, and she lights up on the spot. In his imagination, the village chief crowns him a hero, and hands him his own daughter. Then the two finally threw their names into the room and introduced themselves for real, once and for all. Almost all of them can't stand having a human around. They even suspect the coup is set up to betray them, and yeah, the chef feels totally awkward about it. A villager snatches up his gourd and keeps on hurling insults at the horned girl without stopping. And the vessel gets hucked straight at her, just so the fighter can smash it to pieces with zero trouble. Then the protagonist stares in horror. Her hand has transformed into a razor-sharp knife. Turns out the leader's spitting pure resentment, furious at what evil has done to humanity in the past. And going after revenge is pure insanity. And the moment the young woman thinks back to how she was banished not long ago, she decides to throw caution to the wind and do exactly what she wants. She's so driven that she grabs his attention and orders him to follow her. He panics when he realizes they're sitting on a plan to wipe out humans. Then someone snaps at them both to hold still and wait. The elder orders his henchmen to snatch the traitor and the cook, and it crushes him into pure desperation. But she doesn't budge, not even an inch. Then the crazy guy starts fantasizing that once he's got the poor girl in his grasp, he'll pull off some perverted act. And if she gets wiped out, he'll be the next target, no doubt about it. One single punch from her detonates the first opponent. They're getting blasted across the world, violently thrown to the farthest edge. Her martial art hits like a lightning strike, pure, unstoppable power. Her brutality is so savage that they even swear the girl is a gorilla. So brutal that he snaps at his partner to get the hell out. Because these monsters live for one thing, revenge. Even with everything going on, Alan realizes something wild. Those people are dangerous, sure, but he can still see why they think the way they do. This place reeks of poverty, and long ago humans swept in and wiped it clean. Of course they'd never gamble their lives on their old enemies again. And he's baffled. How does that wild girl try to smash her way through every problem with sheer force? Then the reincarnated guy blurts out that he can't match the speed of everything anymore. But the trickster always throws his support behind whoever's the strongest. That's why he decides right now to tail her. And that's when the truth hits him hard, push her again, and he'll meet the same brutal fate as all the other fools. Even when she begs for help, that poor girl realizes her kindness still gets dismissed. Then the protagonist blurts out random words, trying to calm everything down and save the moment before it explodes. Long ago, humanity hunted the onus, yet not a single one of them knows why, and the fool still can't even find the words to explain it. She clocks that her partner is acting weird and then snaps, wondering if the healer is secretly full of hate toward her race. Because her nose is slimmer than everyone else's, she can instantly sense the bad vibes hidden in a person's heart. So the clever one fires off a quick question. Does Alan have something he's hiding from her? To escape this mess, the trickster lanes in and asks, aren't bad thoughts or ugly feelings normal? Yeah, this is one of those rare moments where both sides line up and tell the same story. So yeah, don't go needlessly bumping into each other just to make a mess, if they want to keep the peace between them. But that answer hits Kyle like a wave. She can't shake it, because her new ally feels seriously strange. When they stare at him, he doesn't smell like the rest. And for the first time, he's standing right there like a real human. Both of them push into the sick regions, and the stench hits so hard it makes it almost unbearable. The whole area lies empty and shattered, like the fight has already ended and nobody's left standing. They finally burst into the treatment place, but the protagonist snaps, wait here, keeping her right where she is. She can't shake the weird failing and blurt out, what is this? Alan's dying to check their condition, but he needs Q to talk him into believing the kid is a real doctor. The only thing it proves is that the cook saved 50 people. And now everyone's wondering if his power has a hard limit. But even the hero can't find the words, and he looks completely stumped. But since the cure doesn't hinge on mangoes, maybe there's no cap on how many people can get it. Turns out the sly guy is just hiding a few moves for his own safety so he won't act carelessly. She quickly starts to respect his choice, because that kind of power belongs to the gods, and everyone's going to try to rip it from that boy. So her plan is simple. She wants this problem written right into their spiritual contract. And yeah, depending on the symptoms, the protagonist can take action. But the only way to stop it for good is to smash the root cause and keep the disease from coming back. After all, no one wants to keep getting kidnapped over and over. So the horned girl shoots out an apology fast. She decides to face her own sins head-on and pleads with the reincarnated one to save the children. The village leader refuses to blame her at all, then tells her flat out that being kidnapped by good people is actually a blessing. They step inside and the guy can't stop thinking, what if his power ever fell into evil hands? A bunch of sick kids are dumped on the ground, left there to suffer. Their hands go numb, their appetite dies, and their bodies feel drained. So drained they can't even drag themselves out of bed, and that fear hits hard because some are starting to show signs of heart failure. But something feels off, and he can't shake the thought that maybe it never got mentioned in Sylphie's plant encyclopedia. He's about to drop a question that's got me on edge. Q fires back, don't worry, I'm not going to hide a single thing. And suddenly that impossible question doesn't feel so scary anymore. So the protagonist wastes zero time and goes straight for the jugular. The real question gnawing at him, are rice and the honest truly tied to that basic food truth? And the brute jolts in shock, stunned that he actually knows this. Realizing that made him grin like crazy. The protagonist stares into the truth and realizes that every piece of advanced tech looks exactly like magic. So with science, anything you dream up can become real. Still clueless about this world, he reached his conclusion. Turns out that medicine is getting tossed aside for magic. And the only thing anyone cares about is figuring out what's really going on. Turns out that clever guy wasn't being smart at all. He was just trying to look cool. And she's determined to find out how this disease and rice are connected. He's trying to get the words out, but her desperation slams the door on everything he says. Eating nothing but rice left her malnourished and starving for vitamins. Yet she still doesn't seem to get it. This problem's called cake, and you can knock it out by switching your diet to brown rice. Then the poor guy finally clicks. Getting through this problem in a brand new world is going to be a brutal challenge. So yeah, he grabs that rice, then he bolts after her. He had to stop and ask anyway because another question was clawing at him. He needed it cleared up. Now she's about to reveal a village secret that blows the truth about rice wide open. So Ku is all in on trusting Alan's word. The boy stares at the grim reality. Food has no vitamins and he's stuck, unable to crack why it's happening. Then she grabs a bunch of rice plants and hurls them into the sky like fireworks. By unleashing her Ashura power, the fighter sprouts 6 razor-sharp arms that slice through anything, and then he realizes the grains are being polished with swords. He's stunned, because a healthy Oni doesn't waste a moment like this. So the guy keeps staring in awe, completely blown away by these abilities, and can't stop wondering how anyone ever survived when they were hunted back then. But yeah, this comment was absolutely not in good taste. She insists it's a real question, not a jab, because she doesn't hear any mockery. But she tells herself it's smarter not to say that out loud around other people. He figures that even as a master swordsman, you can't outslice an attacking spell, and he's betting this race despises sneaky, underhanded strikes. So yeah, his kidnapping had to be a desperate last-ditch move, and she's apologizing for everything, one breath at a time. Then they start eyeballing the ingredients and the guy blurts out, "Is there garlic?" But his ally hesitates, totally not getting what he means. The dark-haired guy breaks down how to prep the rice, but the horned girl just stares like she's lost in the middle of it. But the cook makes one thing crystal clear. He's going to follow these steps no matter what. They'll get fed 3 times a day, and pretty soon they'll be chewing through resources, so expanding the field is the only smart move. Thankfully, that chef isn't just cooking. He's already got serious hands-on experience with farming. And yeah, the reincarnated kid is still starving. He's demanding some rice like it's his last lifeline. But then, right at that, everything spirals out of control when one of the kids flat out refuses to cooperate with a human. That reaction snaps the brute into a rage, and he warns the little girl to watch her step, while Alan steps in and proves he hasn't poisoned a single thing. But the little one won't play along at all, and even complains that the smell of garlic is downright awful. But Ku yanks her partner's hands away before they can even taste the tea, for her brutality pours out of her like a living storm. Then he snaps that the short girl must apologize, because he's the master and he won't tolerate bad manners from his disciples. The poor protagonist lunges in to stop it, only to get nailed by a punch. That snaps the little girl into thinking her teacher has turned on the healer. So they erupt into another fight, all because she refuses to drink the tea. And the kidnapped victim is left sprawled on the ground, barely moving. Day after day, the duo keeps pushing forward, treating their patients with non-stop heart. Now, the honest have clawed their way back from malnutrition. And just like that, they're back on their feet in the blink of an eye. A month later, the cook finally kicks back and relaxes. Someone looks at him and sneers, saying they only see a weakling standing there. He tries to play it cool like he's invisible. The crazy part is his opponent already clocked him. Rin steps up and challenges him right there, with the other little ones watching and egging her on. Soon, the doctor realizes with a jolt that everyone's fully recovered. Even the place's own leader thanked him, but deep down, resentment toward humans still burned in him. And just the fact they talked, it lit up his whole heart. Right then, the little boy rockets straight at the chef. Even the other tiny warrior jumped in and beat the poor guy down. They act like their sensei's nothing but a total weakling. And to make it even worse, he can't even use his restoration power to save himself. Sure enough, that other tiny demon keeps needling him. She tears him down every chance she gets. Yet right now it looks like she's finally slipped and lowered her guard. The injured poor guy finally realizes they're just brushing him off. And that little brat keeps poking the bear, stirring him up every which way. She's 12 or 14 years old and she's a student at Q. Right there, he realizes that annoying little pest feels eerily like Mizuki. Even though he's used to living in the Oni village, the cook clocks it instantly. He's gotta leave. Before he can move, the unbearable one corners him and blurts out, "So, have you done anything plus 18 with her master?" A teenager is convinced Alan broke that brute's will and turned him into a slave. Even though she's exactly his type, he still has limits, and he's scared of her. Then Rin decides it's time to drop a special lesson on the reincarnated one. The moment she tells him it's clear, the horned one's nape is super sensitive. That info absolutely blew his mind. Once that bomb hits, the mastermind dashes off before anyone can even react. He can't stop wondering what his partners are doing right this second. But his worry keeps swelling, and he's got to get back home fast. This village is so cut off from everything it feels unreachable. So basically that's it. His only real option is to swallow his pride and go ask the big one for help. And the pervert starts thinking, is it really okay to invite her to be my very first? Even with the Ku's insane power, that mark of slavery might stop anyone from touching her. because they wouldn't be able to harm her. But word on the street says that once you pull off those plus 18 tricks for the very first time, confidence hits you like a wave. Your emotions finally click into place, and girls start noticing you way more. Soon, the chance to connect with his brand new ally lights him up from the inside. Right then, the Oni girl herself crashes into view in front of him. Turns out the truly powerful one has been waiting for this exact moment, and now the time is here. He gapes in shock. Our secret talk isn't happening anywhere safe, it's on a cliff. Seeing the chaos, the cook's paranoia spikes like a sudden alarm. Sylphie and Aura couldn't breathe, because their master vanished and panic hit them like a punch. Even wind magic can't pin him down. And with Kurama/Kyuubi stepping in, the investigation still can't find a trace. Her message is wild. No trace doesn't mean it's random, it's the clue. And yep, this exact move is straight out of Onus. This race doesn't do loud heroics. They're built for infiltration, spying, and slipping past enemies unseen. Raj's fury flares at the delay, and her sister rushes in to calm her down. Noelle steps up and says Iraq should be the one leading the kids. And to make it worse, Alan's so drained he can't even fully protect himself. The elf snaps that they've got to move fast, but they can't rely on brute force. They need to use their brains. As the days drag on, the poor girl realizes her beloved is nowhere, like he vanished into thin air. Her heartbreak crushes her so hard she can't hold it in, she breaks into tears. Neck shows up out of nowhere in the manager's office, and declares that their long wait is finally over. With those demonic eyes, the spider zeroes in on any secret, and rips the information straight out of it. The catch is brutal. She won't awaken for a full month. But that sneaky woman still got the green light from her boss. And on top of that, her sister tried the same thing and got seriously wrecked for it. Heartbroken and smitten, she clings to her ally and demands they track down the cook, no matter what it costs. From now on, the witch orders the manager to play nice with her younger sister. Hearing that, Sylphie snaps to full agreement. No hesitation, just instant conviction. Once they lock in this agreement, the mischievous one jumps in to assist the sly ones, and together they uncover the truth. So the village chief ends up trapped in a distant village. Soon they all lock in on one mission: rescue him. Right now, out of nowhere, every ally storms into the Oni region, right when the protagonist is moments from making his plus 18 proposal. The horned girl snaps into panic the moment they track down her home, then she quickly realizes they didn't come to hunt her. They came to rescue him. At first, it looks like it finally brings her down from the edge. Then the girl snaps back to it. Her friend still had one more thing to say. Right now, the rogue has no clue who he dares to trust with his words. He's stuck in a panic. Should he thank her for saving him, or should he come clean with his brand new friend? An idea suddenly sparks in his mind, and she'll use it to make even the lust demi minus take him seriously. Now her reincarnated self steps in, inviting her to fight back hard against racial discrimination. This proposal blew her mind clean off its hinges. She can barely process it. Her savior actually came up with this wild idea. Inside her head, this human offering feels exactly like a marriage proposal. Turns out she's grown used to folks thirsting for her or chasing her power. But what's happening now hits completely different. Soon the rest of the crew bursts in, and the horned girl braces herself to spill the whole story. Then the dark-haired guy flashes a quick, sharp greeting to his other allies. He smirks and says their delay gave him the time to wrap up everything he needed to take care of there. And the cook admits with a heavy sigh that he's getting sick of it and growing bored. These words made the brute swear it all went according to his plan. She spots it instantly. Girls of every race have trekked from far away just to reach him and pull him to safety. Even a demonic entity couldn't help but turn its head toward the guy. If her mana wasn't so sky-high, the Q would have dared her to a full-on fight. Then the fighter snaps back and remembers the proposal he made, until the chef yells for her to join the other women. All of this blows her mind wide open, and she's left completely confused. So she blurts out that she's used to it, because she's a rare Genki Oni. The dark-haired girl clocked it. Sometimes he carried himself like a kid, and other times his voice went ice-cold serious, like he knew exactly what he was doing. All of it screams that he's the kind of man worth trusting, someone who can earn her services. So the demoness drops to a knee and vows her loyalty to the protagonist. Sylphie is the only one who looks around like, wait, why does this feel so weird? She starts to realize this is a pack, right there between the two, and it's not exactly doing her any favors because she hates how this feels. So yeah, it turns out the big girl is just another girl buying into Alan's non-stop nonsense. So the elf finally decides to talk to her, and once it all shakes out, it's crystal clear the manager's just seething with jealousy, until someone steps in and calls her out. Her master rushes to her side, apologizes for scaring her, and earnestly thanks her for saving him. She can't shake the feeling that every single thing happened exactly the way he wanted. When the boy dodges the question, the business administrator can't stop thinking. he starts reevaluating his whole game plan. Even when his dreams to wipe out prejudice and crush hunger sound wild, he still somehow talks everyone into believing he can pull it off. But the biggest thing that eases her heart is knowing he's safe. Then Aura bursts in and explains this. When a human offers an only-woman union to wipe out discrimination, it doesn't just solve the issue, it turns into a marriage proposal. The Oni lays it all out, tells you every detail of what went down, and flat-out admits she stepped way out of line. Even though she can't help feeling bad, not one of them seems bothered by what just went down. Your secretary can't believe it. He fixed the whole mess without a single restoration, and that's why she's genuinely impressed. It's like the world passes him by. He can't feel a thing, and he doesn't see anything at all. Turns out QB and Neck bolted out of there in a hurry, and he somehow managed to blow right past her expectations. We watch the insecure idiot spiral, convinced he wrecked everything with the entity, until someone finally calls him out. Rin tells him she led the visitors through the house, and the guy promises he'll whip up dinner. She leans in and asks, "So, are you really walking away?" This question blindsides him completely. He snaps to it, this tiny brat's terrified of being alone. So of course that little rascal dodges the moment like it's radioactive. Then the village chief sinks into deep thought, replaying every detail of what just happened, and sweeps her off her feet by inviting her to study abroad. A full month crawls by, and the fresh newcomers finally crash into the protagonist's base, right where the action is waiting. And every single one of them is blown away by what they're witnessing. The kids stare in disbelief, totally blown away by the mind-bending innovations around them. The problem is this, his actions have plummeted and everything's slipping because of it. Ever since he vanished, worry has gripped everyone like a vice. And they're thrilled to see him finally okay, but the vibe screams that something's seriously wrong. So yeah, everybody knows what they found out about him while he was gone, because those investigations spilled the whole truth. The boy's mortified, kidnapped, and rescued again like it's his own problem, and he's convinced he's nothing but dead weight propped up by the enslaved. And then the goddess shows up, straight up gloating over his mess. And they start swapping stories about how she's working from home. As they talk, the entity flashes a chilling reveal. His friends are all gathered right there. And right now, this whole crew is scrambling to set up a massive welcome party. Both of them talk, and the cook acts like she totally knows what the deity wants. Then she dodges the question like it's on fire. He stumbled onto a savage new trick. His power could replay sound inside a 3-meter bubble for 9 straight seconds. He decided to build a massive bathtub just for the girls, so he could listen to them while they bathed. Then the genius wastes no time. He taps into the power and listens in on their conversation, right under their noses. We learn the hard truth, none of them want to be his slaves anymore. This news absolutely rocks him and leaves his mind reeling. Aura huddles up with her friends and lays it all out like it's the biggest secret in the world. Their eyes burn with unstoppable determination. So they decide to go straight to Sylphie, because every single one of them is aching for freedom. Because the maidens promise to stand by Alan, not just as servants, but as women who back him. She remembers his mission like a vow: wipe out hunger and crush discrimination. This is what a real king is made of, and trust me, that's exactly why he's even more irresistible. They all sprint together right after the administrator. They step into position, ready to confront her about it head-on. At that exact moment, the noblewoman leans in and snaps. Does her crew have anything to tell the village manager? Noel insists they're all here to talk about the exact same things, and the others admit they're chasing the same goal, because it all traces back to the protagonist. Right after that, the local leader shoots back with a shocked reaction. From the girl's point of view, she can already feel exactly what her companions are going through. Everyone was blown away by the cook's insane skills, so intense that the businesswoman ends up feeling the exact same way as the rest of her companions. He's so packed with dreams that he never even gives his employees proper orders. So basically, the chef wants them to step up, think smart, and push for the best results every single time. To back him up, he'll need willpower and resolution. And one of them is about to ask a question straight to the elf. Because she's from a rare species, she never should have ended up enslaved, so they hit her with one question. Has she ever even once thought about freedom? Then the passionate girl grabs his attention and swears she's dreaming of freedom. She daydreams about the moment they'll be free. No more slave and master, just equal people standing side by side. And she swears she'll stick right by his side, determined to make him happy no matter what. After everything, she puts her full trust in him. Even now, there's still a timeline where the smartest one burns to stand right beside him. That's why the smart one steps in with a slick plan for each of them, one by one. Meanwhile, Alan is still crushed by what he heard, and that divinity keeps hammering him mentally. Yet everyone else carries on like nothing's happening. He sprints over to the guests' welcome party. Next, he links up with the Honest, and the thought hits him hard. They're craving freedom. We watch the poor guy force a smile, pretending he's happy while everything's clearly falling apart inside. At that moment he snaps, "No big deal, work hard, pay off our debts and earn our freedom." And the least he could do for each of them was throw them a full-on congratulations for everything they'd done. Could never show that calm side, so he chugs himself into a drunken haze, right up until someone calls him out. Tina's confidence crumbles the moment she tries to make her request. He quickly clocks it, the paper in her hand isn't just any document, it's the contract binding them both. The two tricksters watch everything unfold, and the protagonist can't shake the feeling they're waiting for him to spill his thoughts. Then the fool claps into her shoes and suddenly remembers. Every time he left a job, he'd rehearse his rant with his boss first. Alan keeps pushing his subordinate to move fast, because he's trying to spare his heart as much pain as possible. She digs deep, summons every ounce of courage, and declares, "I'm leaving just 1 coin, nothing more, because that's my will, my resolution." He's completely lost, like he has no idea what's even going on. They all just kept doing the exact same move over and over. His shock is 100% real, and it hits him hard in all of this. So bad that the poor girl even assumes her boss hated it, and now they're stuck with a tiny little debt. Turns out the protagonist realizes everyone can cough up the money immediately, because the price is so ridiculously low. Even if that amount is tiny, the debt won't vanish, because it still exists no matter what. So the work bond between them stays, but everyone walks away with their freedom. And that spiritual contract he backs them with will stay locked in. Right then Sylphie fired off a confirmation, proving his theory was dead on. Realizing his secretary masterminded all of this shocks him to the core. She gives her master a proud nod because she can tell he's crushing it. Everyone there adored him so fiercely that they even skipped their own debts just to stay right by his side. So they doubled down, turning around and choosing to keep serving him like his loyal servants. So yeah, everyone in that room is basically a comrade, all chasing the same dream. They're dying to keep chasing his worldview, no matter where it leads. Because the servant's whole mission is to cling to his side forever, no matter what. Kyubai points out that beyond collecting every kind of race, he's built quite the collection. The protagonist didn't just survive, he cured a mysterious illness that nobody could explain. The fox finally chimes in, hinting it might be time to go get his help. Later on, Alan and the goddess huddle up over the crushing debts, and she demands to know what happens the instant that final coin gets hit. But he locks eyes with his rival and turns deadly serious. And she's claiming they can end his race right now. So basically he feels cornered and helpless under their control, and the deity decides, yeah, that's the plan to keep him in line. And somehow that crafty guy has another plan tucked away, ready to hit like a twist in the next second. His trick is all set to unleash the moment he needs it. A single cup carries his backup plan, because right now his power is worth next to nothing. The ones who landed there, minus that hulking brute, are students, and they're headed to work the fields, paid for every grain of rice they cultivate. That lunatic's plan is simple: churn out a mountain of sake until everyone gives in to pure carnal temptation. And the entity's disappointment only deepens, hitting even harder than before. Rice farming is about to kick off. Any day now, the fields will come alive. To water the plants, they'll unleash water magic and soak everything in a snap. Soon, everyone realized something felt off. His face looked nothing like his usual self. But the women clock it instantly. His weird little smile is the whole mystery, and Rin can't help wondering if she'll ever stop freaking out about it. Earth magic races through the ground, breaking it open and readying it for planting. Water sorcery drenches every seed, and sharp sword skills slice through the rice harvest. As always, Alan sat there doing absolutely nothing, because his infinite tool is a total joke next to earth spells. Still, the protagonist snaps into action and orders the muscle-bound guy to polish the grains. She snaps to his command on the spot, then jumps in to help with the milling needed to make sake. And right when they need it most, Raj bursts in to help them out. The spider rolled in a vaporizer to heat the rice and force it to soak up moisture. The cook breaks it down: outside must stay firm, inside should stay soft, and right when it clicks, Ku blurts out a question. She still remembers back in the imperial capital too, rice just isn't something you can buy. And even the ones who have been nurturing it for centuries still don't know nearly enough about it. Now she, reborn, stares at her options, panicking over what to do, and suddenly the memories of all his research on the matter flood back. Then the unbearable one shows up, taunts him about his reflection, and even in his memories it totally skips the Ekai part. Still snapping at the annoying one to stop bothering him, the creator suddenly remembers they're both standing right next to something huge. Because the sly one tells her, "Soon I'm striking back for every single thing you've been doing," like a threat hanging in the air. So I goad him just to bait out his trump card the second he can, no warning any moment. She boasts she'll be the only one to handle the ice crusher, and somehow, it never even pops into his head. They yank him back to the real world, and he dashes out of that celestial chat, because his head is a total disaster and he's got no clue how to handle it. Then someone snaps in his ear, "None of this matters, what counts is that you're our master." Sylphie snaps him back to reality, reminding him that they chose to follow him. Right when the veteran warrior breaks down and apologizes, the protagonist dodges disaster, because the bell saves him at the last second. The way she forced Ko to back down was seriously jaw-dropping. Rin still won't let it go. The muscle-bound guy snaps in her ear that once the elf has made up his mind, that's the verdict and the argument is over. Turns out the manager is the mastermind behind that one-coin debt plan, and the strategist can knock Alan down anytime she pleases. So yeah, don't even think about messing with the mafia boss. Then the clever one decides to stay useless on purpose, just so he can keep living the exact lifestyle he's got. Noelle jumps in and helps process the rice, hands flying as she gets the job done. The other allies jump in too, tweaking the temperature to perfection. He breaks down how he used his skills to twist the grains inside the tank to his will. Ellie steps in and hands over the exact water they need to get everything ready. Before you can blink, the ingredients get tossed together, and the last magical tweaks are about to be made. The problem is this move takes serious experience and sharp intuition. No guessing allowed. But the honest never fold, they charge in and handle it themselves, because their kind is deadly good at getting ready. He tells everyone once it's done, try it, trust me. They all snap and agree to this proposal on the spot. Their answers hit him so hard they rattle straight through his chest. Moments later, the banquet finally kicks off. So they all raise their cups and taste the sake together. The girls take a sip of that brand new drink and savor every sweet drop. Every single one of them is blown away by that flavor. And Alan's grinning because his plan actually worked. A few hours crash by in the blink of an eye, and the cook starts to stir, jerking awake like something just snapped him back to reality. After a few drinks, he suddenly keeled over and fell asleep out of nowhere. The second he opens his eyes, something shocks him out of nowhere, because Sylphie is crashed out right beside him. He stares at her and boom, pure shock slams him to the core. After everything that happened, he still can't remember a single thing. What chills him to the bone is knowing she's waking up. Right then, his secretary finally jolts awake. She shoots him a look and says her boss has finally snapped awake. Right now, that chef is completely clueless. He has no clue what's going on. Because his body looks like it's been snatched down in size, the goddess snaps her fingers and reveals what went down right before he got his life back. The infatuated girl sipped the drink, and instantly heat rushed through her whole body. So much so that she remembers how Sake can flip people on a dime, and the manager snaps back, reminding herself to be careful before it goes too far. Right out of nowhere, the dark-haired guy plops down on her lap like he owns the moment. He sinks in clothes and she feels soft, warm, and sweetly fragrant. Then the elf finally realizes just what drunkenness can wreck, and how even restoration can't pull him back from its grip. They kept pouring him drink after drink, but one sip after another had him reeling, because his alcohol tolerance is painfully low. She quickly realizes once her boss sobers up, he's going to be crushed by sheer embarrassment. Now the boy finally blurts out his feelings, confessing his love to his right-hand woman. She looks downright thrilled the moment he says it. Then the girl can't hold back and wraps him in a hug. It feels like something explodes into the story out of nowhere, like the plot just snapped awake. Everyone clocked it at once, somehow their master had shrunk. Right then, the maiden drops the disguise and claims she's only doing it to shield his reputation. Even she can't figure out why she did it. It all boils down to one thing: those drunks messed everything up. Tina can't shake the feeling. Does she really know this is the right move? This freaked her out so badly, she dropped the bottle and it clattered to the floor, just for Noelle to slam it back together in seconds. People are totally blown away by her feat. Alan's jaw drops as he watches her unleash her spell. Seeing him act like this, and hearing those words shoots a blush straight onto the little one's cheeks. Then the dwarf seizes the moment and blows him away with her insane powers. She drags him into her room and starts showing him even more secrets. This comment slams into the room and makes her rivals squirm. The three of them start a heated fight over who gets to stay right by his side. Right when the chance opens up, Aura swoops in and grabs him. So the boy leans in and blurts out that her airbags feel super soft. She tells her little brother to use her as a pillow, but it all gets shut down by another elf, one who hates that idea with a burning passion. Rhea even steps up and offers to take care of the little one herself. He can't stop being amazed that she and the spider actually sleep right there in their web, to the point where even the mastermind is itching to lie down with them and try his luck. This answer lights up her whole world with pure joy. Right then, the mother arachnid bolts, snatching up her tiny one and fleeing into the chaos. Right out of nowhere, the wind magic hits her with brutal pressure and leaves her frozen in place. Several elves brace themselves ready to block her. Ku watches it all spiral out of control in real time. Little Alan is adorable, but she has no clue how to take care of him. Before long, someone dials her name and calls out to her. Little Master grins, praises her hair, and swears the clothes from his country would look incredible on her. And that little rascal boldly asks the big girl to wear those clothes for him. That question hits her like a lightning bolt, and she's left absolutely mortified. Then the swordswoman snaps into action the moment she hears him, and a ton of catching up blows out of her nose. Rin can't believe how rattled her master is, until one of the maids leans in and tells her it's totally normal. Then boom, someone hoists him up and drags him into the room. Right when their fight was about to explode, he suddenly collapsed into sleep, like that was the only thing that could end it. This whole ordeal drags her back to his room, and she leaves him there finally. The young boy jolts awake, only to realize someone is lifting him and tucking him into bed. Then he calls his friend to meet up with him, and even when the manager tries to slip away, the little brother won't take no for an answer. He drags her back to stay with them. She's left reeling, totally stunned, and not a clue what to do next. She's craving nothing more than to curl up right beside him and fall asleep. She caves in to the little boy's relentless pressure. Right now, the reincarnated one feels his cheeks warm up with an all-too-real softness. Just then, his companion shows up, swaps his clothes in a flash, and the next thing he knows, he remembers nothing at all. Then the shy one finally bears it all, because he refuses to let his dignity fade away. First, the girl tears off his clothes, and before you know it, he slips into a more childish outfit that Rhea made. They haul him in to meet all his comrades, and when he realizes everyone else already knows, the shock hits him like lightning. Every single one of them hurries up and calls out their wishes for the village chief to have a great day. Before he even realizes it, they start pampering him out of pure nowhere. It was obvious, every girl started treating him with way more care than before. All that pampering has the transmigrated guy grinning like crazy, straight up hyped for his brand new harem life. Something inside his head still feels wildly off, like it doesn't belong. Every single one of them argues over how to raise him, so hard that they even end up making a pact about who's taking charge of his future. He's convinced this is the trap, just a lock meant to seal him away for good. Plus, you can pull secrets from him and fix your problems by taking an unbearable menace and somehow turning him into someone adorable. The idiot swears this is just to keep his job safe, and he's stuck in this form for the next 2 months. Of course, this news lit a fire under his rage. Turns out this rascal remembers Shodas can ask older folks for the most shameless, undignified requests. Every single person in that room snaps to attention when that question hits the air. Each maiden snaps into action and decides to scoop him up in her arms, right on the spot, overwhelmed by sudden maternal instincts. And yeah, none of that makes him happy, not even a little. Even that unbearable goddess steps in and offers to handle it. It feels like they're trying to turn him into a child, and the only way out is to grind nonstop, so he won't let anyone down. Because his whole mission is to claw his way back to his true self, and still savor every second of life as their son. Right out of nowhere, the door gets yanked open. He's completely stunned by what he just saw. Then, out of thin air, a mysterious woman suddenly appears.